Sure. What? All right, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of Miss Jackie Lamberto. She was a founder of our Senior Activities Commission and recently passed away, so please keep her family and her in your prayers. Thank you. All right, kicking it off with our public hearing. We have a motion to open our public hearing.
Motion to open a public hearing for discussion consideration of a request from Kingston Road Property Owner LLC. Let's read the whole thing.
As much as we need to get it open. All right.
Second.
Motion, go second. We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. So we'll kick it off. I know the attorney can't be here, but would you like to do a little overview? Thank you. Please do start with your name for the record.
Sure.
Yeah.
Try to keep it to just a little bit of an overview, but thank you, Chairperson Wilcox, members of the Town Council, Administrator Lees, and others here tonight. My name is William Buckley, and I'm Vice President Development at GFI Partners. We're here tonight on behalf of property owners, Kingston Developer LLC and Kingston Property Owner LLC, which are affiliates of GFI. We were here last month, and we're excited to be back in front of you and looking forward to further discussion on our proposed zoning text amendment with you. Great, and I will try to keep this shorter than I have in other presentations, but so thank you for being here. And Kendra, what's the best way for me to get you to what the?
You can say.
Just say, okay, next slide.
Yep.
And tonight I just want to briefly run through our development team, tell you a little bit about GFI Partners, talk a little bit about the existing conditions of the PUDVC, where the process that we've undergone for to bring us here tonight with the zoning text amendment, and provide a little bit of a sample of what we envision for the land use plan. Next. So about GFI Partners. And most of this presentation will focus on our industrial growth, but I do want to share GFI Partners. We're a Boston-based real estate development firm founded in 1997 by Steve Goodman. One of the things that is unique about GFI is that we're full-service real estate development in that we permit, construct, manage, and in most cases own in the long term our entire portfolio. That portfolio has grown. It's currently, we own and manage over 20 million square feet of real estate across industrial, residential, behavioral health, education, asset classes in the portfolio. We're actively permitting and constructing more than 8 million square feet in the region. And I think what's important to note too is our portfolio varies. There's over 114 properties I think we're up to now, and which means that we're home to hundreds of companies in a wide scale, from Fortune 100 to local warehouse users and manufacturers and others. So it's a broad spectrum of tenants and thousands of jobs and millions of dollars of economic impact invested there. Next, please. I would just briefly, and I'm not going to cover each one of these like I did at the planning board, but we have what I tried to focus here, and in talking with our senior vice president of development, she and I were talking about the best way to talk to our best approach to the type of transformative development projects that we've talked about for our site here in Richmond. And we think the best way to do that is to provide a sampling of what we're actively doing today out in the market. We have a strong track record of working with local communities on complex sites that bring significant economic investment and jobs to expand the local tax base. These projects are, as I said, active GFI portfolio projects that are either recently completed, under construction, or in the permitting and title process. And the focus on these is really just to stay on industrial sites in the New England region. though we are active elsewhere. And we'll try to roll through these. In Stratford, Connecticut, if you drive down 95, you might recognize this building. This was a former abandoned brownfield site that's a 231,000 square foot warehouse facility that actually Amazon is about to occupy. That was recently constructed. Next. In Norfolk, Massachusetts, this is a 97-acre site that's a former state cancer treatment hospital that, again, a lot of the sites that we work with have some brownfields issues or contamination issues. This is another one. This is in the permitting pipeline now in Norfolk. That's 545,000 square feet of an industrial park in Norfolk. Next, please. In Charlton, a little bit of a larger scale. This is a 200-acre site in Charlton, Mass, near the intersection of I-90 and I-84. This is currently under construction, 1.2 million square feet. And similarly, this project was made possible after a zoning text amendment by the town of Charlton. This is a project that we think kind of similar to our approach in Richmond. This project is single-handedly changes the financial outlook in a small town like the town of Charlton with good highway access. Next, please. Hopedale, Mass. This is 617,000 square foot newly constructed warehouse facility in Hopedale. This actually we were able to just announce a new tenant here, international shipping company named Maersk. Is about to, they're going to bring 500 jobs, and they're about to invest $100 million into that building on top of the construction cost to bring it to the shell. Next, please. In Shrewsbury, Mass, this is in the active permitting stage, 120-acre, similar to this site, former sand and gravel operation. Site was rezoned from commercial business to light industrial, and this will create opportunities for 894,000 square feet of modern industrial uses. This site was located in an aquifer protection zone, so there are modern stormwater systems incorporated to protect public drinking water systems, both during construction and after. Next. In Derry, New Hampshire, project recently permitted. This is a 60-acre site. It was proposed as a transfer facility, so there was a lot of pushback from the community. And when GFI stepped in, we identified that there's a kind of a higher and better use. It's located in an economic revitalization zone, and that's recently permitted 370,000 square feet. Next. And then I just want to show you a couple of quick projects. Here's this got permitted in January. This is a mixed use in downtown Worcester, 197 unit mixed use facility. So that first floor will be retail, and 197 units on 5 floors above. So this is a project that we're excited to get under construction, likely early next year. And a recent addition to our portfolio next is we're the new owners of the former Providence Journal production facility in downtown Providence. So we are in the process of, we purchased the site at auction. We're in the process, there's some environmental issues that in the soils that need to get cleaned up, but this will likely be a large retail user in a kind of a high profile location right downtown Providence, near Providence Place. So we're excited about taking the next steps on this. Next, please. And that brings us again a small sampling of just I think to kind of give you an example of the types of projects that GFI is working on day-to-day basis, and it's consistent with our vision for here in Rhode Island, in Richmond, the types of projects we have. So the existing conditions of the current site. It's a little tough to see on the screen here, but it's bordered in like a dashed green and blue line. It's a 246-acre site bordered to the north by Richmond Sand and Stone, which is Flex Tech zoning. To the east by conservation land, currently owned by the town of Richmond. That was deeded to the town of Richmond as part of the original creation of the PUD Village Center zoning district. Vacant land and residential property to the south, as you see, and Route 138 to the west. The main entrance to the site is located across from the entrance from the Preserve Sporting Club over on Kingstown Road. This is, I think, throughout the community, commonly referred to as the Richmond Commons site, which we know is a previously approved mixed-use project that was originally contemplated for the PUD VC district. As I think we've all, many of us have had conversations that was approved at a very different time in the commercial and industrial, commercial and residential real estate market. It was pre-COVID. There have been vast changes in the retail sector since that project was originally approved. We believe that the site's acreage and its proximity to I-95 presents a unique opportunity for the site to be one of only a handful of sites in New England capable of attracting a large national warehouse and distribution facility with modern industrial uses. Our experience with similar properties in this market tells us that certain conditions need to be present to improve the marketability of the site for redevelopment and attract national decision makers. Predictability in the market, predictability in the development schedule, and delivery of a building for occupancy are important milestones for decision makers to understand in locating a new facility. That predictability really starts with zoning. Zoning changes can often be unpredictable, time consuming, and sites without necessary zoning often get passed up for opportunities when new uses are in the market. In addition to predictability, site selection decision makers also seek cooperation and collaboration in the community that encourages development to expand the property tax base and desire to bring jobs and new investment to the community. GFI, we believe that the opportunity this property presents for development. We're not here tonight as a prospective property owner with a piece of land under agreement. We're here tonight because we've already made a significant investment in the town of Richmond, and we intend to be a long-term corporate partner in the community. Since owning the site, we've engaged in discussions with staff, elected officials, business community leaders. We've listened to community needs and understand the vision once held for Richmond Commons is important to the community. We believe we've proposed a text amendment that captures the ability to develop a site with modern industrial uses while meeting local needs for recreational space and open space, mixed commercial uses along Route 38, and potential for new housing growth to diversify the housing stock. Next, please. Brief overview of the zoning text amendment, and I'm getting near the end here. It's located entirely, what's important about the zoning district, I think, is that the district is located entirely within the property boundaries just discussed. And the changes made to the PUD-VC zone under this proposed text amendment will apply to this property only and no other property in town. The proposed amendment before you maintains the ability of the Village Center District to allow for a mix of residential and commercial uses in a unified site design as originally contemplated. It maintains provisions for design, open space, and recreational facilities, and the clustering of buildings and activities as originally proposed. What the zoning amendment does also do is it adds industrial uses, and those industrial uses you will find in the text amendment are to be located 700 feet from Route 138 and on a parcel that we'll get another look at that in the land use plan here. But that really is, it's those industrial uses that create the opportunities for growth and economic development to expand the local tax base and will result in attracting modern industrial tenants to the town with new jobs and investment. The industrial uses proposed to be allowed outside that 700-foot setback closely mirror the industrial uses already allowed in the town in the Flex Tech district, which is the industrial zoning district that abuts us to the rear. Development projects under the proposed text amendment will be subject to the land development process. Master plan for the site is required as under that land development process to be approved by the planning board prior to any development taking place. And I think most importantly, what the amendment brings the needed predictability to the entitlement process to support the increased investment in site design and engineering. Next, please. This is a just what we're calling a land use plan that gives us some examples of how the various land uses under this zoning text amendment could be made. The zoning text amendment requires a minimum of 20% of open space that can be used for is either passive open space or for recreational uses. The tan color and the green at the bottom of that page represent conservation land of 24 acres. It's a total of potential for 43 acres and of recreational land abutting existing conservation land owned by the town of Richmond, and an additional 24 acres shown. So at a minimum, under the zoning text amendment, there would be a requirement for 20% open space, which under at the 246 acres, we can expect a minimum of 48, close to a little over 49 acres of open space. What's being shown here is a total of 43 acres. An additional conservation land of 24. The mixed use area, the yellow area in the front, is made up of 42 acres of land, 28 to the north and 18 to the south of that mixed use area, where we would envision commercial uses. We see this very much as a transitional commercial mixed use development from Route 120, from 138 to the industrial acreage in the back. And the blue colored area is beyond that 700-foot setback, and you can see very faintly. You can see the black line that kind of follows. It runs parallel to Route 138. That black line is the 700-foot setback that's proposed in the text amendment. That means that the majority of the industrial uses that are allowed in the flex tech zone to the north would be allowed in that what would be the industrial portion of the site, that blue area shown on the land use plan. So that blue area is 137 acres on this plan. So I guess just to kind of summarize, that would allow for the industrial uses beyond that 700-foot, but still maintain the ability for a mix of commercial and residential uses along 138, and require an open space commitment of close to and likely more than 50 acres of open space for the development. Next, I think we have two more. So the process to date is since we've owned the site, we've had numerous meetings with local staff, local officials, whether they be elected officials or business leaders in the community. More recently, we held a series of zoning workshops with local staff and elected officials and members of the board. On June 9th this year, we submitted our application for a text amendment to the town council. That was referred to the planning board. The planning board held their first meeting in June 23rd. After that meeting, the planning board was excellent. There was a lot of collaboration, discussion. We went through all the details of the amendment. There were revisions made based on some of those planning board comments. Submitted back to the planning board. The public hearing for tonight has been advertised. We had a consultant prepare our comprehensive plan report, Ed Pimentel, who is, and that's been presented to you so we can maintain, we can assure that the text amendment is consistent with the local comprehensive plan. After the planning board's second meeting, final revisions have been presented to you in the submittal. The planning board did issue a favorable recommendation, which brings us here, public hearing tonight. So I'm sure I left out stuff that I was hoping to share with you, but I think that gives you a pretty broad overview of why we're here, why we're excited about being a partner with you in the town of Richmond, why we're excited to kind of take the next step to advance economic development and growth at this site here in Richmond. So I'm available to answer any questions that you have. And next slide. Just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for coming and presenting and sharing everything. Thank you to our staff and our council for working on it as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot, I know a lot of work was put into
A lot
it,
of-
so
And I
glad
should-
we're finally here.
I should give some kudos to Talia.
Yes.
And the team there. She's put a lot of effort into this as
Thank
well.
you, Talia.
Aaron's been helpful. Kendra's been very responsive and great. Of course, Chris has always been available for any response there. I should note that our the development team that has been at some other meetings that what was tied up tonight. We're Dupreet Engineering, which is a Rhode Island-based civil engineering firm, will be doing all the land planning and civil engineering for the site. Our local land use attorney, Todd Romano, who's been at the planning board hearings and at our last hearing here. And I mentioned that we hired Ed Pimentel as our consultant to ensure consistency with the local comprehensive plan. So it's important to us that we assemble a team that understands the needs of the town of Richmond as well as the state of Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's important. We have that team too, and we have that in our planning board. I want to thank them as well. This is awesome. I'll bring it to council discussion. I'll see Councilor Palmigano first.
Yeah, again, just the amount of work that was done by Talia and the planning board, phenomenal. And thank you to GFI, but also to recognize Councilor Madnick, who played point on this. So thank you for all the hard work you did there. Just a couple things I think are helpful. You know, we're so close to this because we've seen it 1,000 times, but
Sure.
you showed a lot of examples of 200,000 square foot buildings. I think for the public's benefit, it's important to mention that's the blue area. That's not the yellow area.
That's correct.
Yeah. So just so if you're thinking large box by the road, that's not where that's going to go, as he had stated. Just that's a good point of clarification. Also on the map where you show 138, there's a portion in yellow that is actually behind Woodlands. So the only part that's that mixed use retail you actually see is over more by the entrance to the preserve.
To the entrance to the preserve, there's three vacant single family
Yeah.
homes there now that are part of the redevelopment plan. So it's that stretch of frontage across from the entrance to the preserve and including the entrance to Rhode Island Aggregates.
Yes, absolutely. And then just the last piece was, when we talk about the 700 feet, it's hard to conceptualize what that is. It's like, that's 2.3 football fields of length. So when you think about how far back that is from the road, that's a significant distance. That will be behind buildings. It will be behind, plantings, as I read, native and near native. I don't know what near native means.
Right.
Native and
And
near
cultivars, which
cultivars. Yeah.
last, planning board meeting.
So can I ask just a
Yeah,
couple
go
of
for
quick
it.
questions and then?
Yeah,
Yes.
go.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Kendra, can you put back up the conceptual engineering plan? I think it would be easier to continue the conversation if we have that up. Sorry, it's not behind you, Jim.
No, it's all right. No, just a couple
Go
of
ahead.
things that
Thank
jumped
you.
out, and these are points, and maybe they're to Talia as well. So in the discussion, I think it was utilities may be underground. Is there a reason why they wouldn't be or couldn't be underground?
Which page is that, Jim?
I'll let me look at my little tags there.
No.
It'll take me a second to find it, so I will ask that. The other piece was, I wanted to hear from the applicant also. There was the question of the 10% of the residential development permitted deed restricted or low moderate housing. Because originally I think that was not part of the plan. The planning board made that recommendation, and what are your thoughts on that?
Our thoughts are that we're here to collaborate and cooperate and work together to meet the needs of the town to attract the right development to this site. With that being said, and I'm just repeating kind of what I said at the planning board hearing, right? That if bringing housing to the site is a goal, adding that affordability provision makes it more difficult. So I think it's more of a decision of the community to weigh, right? If there's a need for new multifamily housing, that 10% affordability makes it just more difficult to pencil out and to get financed. Right? So I think it's and I've had some other conversations about what that does. That 10% is it how much of a contribution that's gonna make towards actually getting to the goals, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tyler, I'm trying to find that, piece. There's 90 pages here. I have.
Jim, it's on page 21 of 23, which would be page 90 of the, well, you've got 60 something pages, right? It's on the third to last page.
Okay.
21.
Better to count backwards on this one.
Sorry.
So that's utility C1, on-site utilities shall be located underground unless the planning board waives or modifies this requirement pursuant to Article 8 of the Land Development and Subdivision Regulations.
Mhm.
So that is an existing part of the text of the zone at this point in time. The planning board would have the ability to grant a waiver, for example, if you have an area where there's a lot of ledge and you can't necessarily have an underground utility go through that, or it would be an exorbitant cost to do that, then you could potentially have them above ground, but that would be up to the planning board to grant a waiver. And they would need to have the grounds sufficient for the planning board to make a determination upon that. So this is not to say that there's going to be above ground everywhere. It's just this gives them the ability to, in certain instances and in certain circumstances, allow to have above ground utilities.
That makes sense. Yeah, because obviously the aesthetics is nicer underground, but you can't.
Yeah.
That's
Go ahead.
The standard is that it shall be underground.
Okay.
Right, so the standard is, that, but for extenuating circumstances, it will be underground.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the plan would be, when they actually submit the plan, it would show underground utilities, and if they do have any areas where they need to have above ground, they would call them out on the plan and identify, hey, we need to have an above ground utility here for this reason. The planning board would weigh that and they would say yes, or they would say no, depending upon what the parameters are of the request, just like they would with any other kind of relief.
Okay. There was just one other thing, and I think the planning board went to the point to stress, and it was in a parking area around some of the retail or residential that they had specified, bike racks. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's in their purview, but it made me think, is there going to be also a recommendation for any charging stations in this design for electric vehicles? Because I didn't see anything along that lines.
I found the, sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
go ahead.
I found the component I believe that you're talking about in relation to the bicycle parking racks, which
Yes.
is 2214. Parking areas shall include bicycle parking racks in locations that are safely segregated from automobile traffic. Bicycle parking racks shall only be required within 700 feet of Route 138 or with open space and recreational uses. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, and it just made me think about if they're making a recommendation for that. I just thought about the charging stations too. I don't know if that's part of the plan.
I do not know. That would be for the applicant to
Yeah.
line on.
Okay.
It would likely be part of the plan, right? There's a need for them, right? We're actually seeing some industrial uses actually have power needs that would require electric charging for some of the on-site vehicles and such. I mean, we're well aware that that's the direction that start to look at electric trucks, and there will be a need for that. So
Okay.
whether it's put in there as a requirement or not, I'm sure it's going to become, during the land development process, I'm sure that they would need to be.
That's why I figured maybe it wasn't in the purview of the planning board to specify that the builder will determine that. That's great. I don't know if you all want to talk, I don't.
Yeah, no, do you have more questions?
But it was just about the height variance, but if you want to talk about that, that was one of them that popped up.
You want to handle your questions, or Council Manick, if you have something you want to add?
Just let it rip. and
Yeah,
then-
so there was a height variance, I believe it was 60 feet.
Yes, the dimensional variance
Yeah.
section.
Yeah. Just wanted to, now, Paul, in the past, you've shared some images of some of the the residential. That looked like it was, on the second floor, was above some of the retail, and it looked really nice. I'm assuming that it's a 4-story, that's the 60 feet, that's the type of thing you're describing?
So I have the page up so Mr. Buckley can look at it. But it has written that the maximum height and number of stories, so the maximum height would be 60 and the maximum number of stories would be 4.
Okay.
And that's exactly what we envision. Potentially, maybe a 3-story, 4-story, mixed use residential building, whether that be a mixed use or just a standard 4-story mixed use development. And there are some industrial, the industrial buildings will be approaching.
Yeah.
40 to 50 50 feet high, depending on what the clearance is.
Right, and it does apply to the entire property, right? But I think when you were talking about that kind of 4-story retail or housing, that was in the yellow-ish.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, great stuff.
Thank you. Got all your questions?
Yeah, I think.
All right, Counselor Maddock, do you have anything you want to add before we go to the public?
Unless you have anything, I
Yeah,
can
go,
wrap
go
up.
for it.
Okay, so I was gonna, well, first off, just back up and say this has been an 18-month process working with GFI Partners and Bill in a very professional and collaborative way. It's been excellent to work with a developer that's willing to listen to community needs and assist the community and meeting some of the goals of the comprehensive community plan. As you can see up here, this conceptual plan, just to throw some numbers out here for you, and actually let me back up for a sec. The community in general, from what we've experienced, what we've heard from residents, is that they like the rural nature of our community. That's the number one topic we hear. Taxes are high. What do we get for our taxes? What type of services do we have? Can we get more businesses in Richmond? Can we get some tax reduction, get some relief? And then can we get more community and like third space locations, more events? And I think that this development and with this property owner and the way that they've been collaborating with everyone in this town council, staff, attorney, EDC chair, planning board chair, the planning board, and most importantly, our town planner, it's been phenomenal. And they are more than willing to work with the town so that we can get all three of those things for our community. Right now, based on this concept plan, there's going to be 43 acres of potential outdoor and indoor recreation. We don't have any real recreation space in this community other than our school and Beaver River Park and what we will see from 4 Richmond Townhouse Road. So I think that's going to be a real opportunity for our town, and we'll get a lot of benefit out of it. Looking at 24 acres of conserved space, 137 acres of industrial, light industrial, which is consistent with our flex tech zone. I think it fits well in that area. Right behind that, abutting it, is already a flex tech area. So it makes sense when you look at it from a land use perspective and on paper. And then in the end, we get approximately 42 acres of mixed use, commercial, and housing. And just to put it in perspective, South County Commons is about 20 acres. So we're looking at essentially double that in our state designated growth area, right downtown, right along 95. This community, as we heard at the last meeting, has 0% rental rate. We have very few small affordable homes and condos in this community. What this ordinance amendment does is it requires the developer to limit their housing to 2-bedroom units, which on its face, based on the economy, are more affordable than single family units, which are prohibited in this zone. So I think with the 60-foot tall building, which is fairly tall for Richmond, I believe Riverhead Building Supply, they're at 40 feet. Or do we give them, are they higher than that? Do you remember, Talia?
I cannot opine. I do not know that number off the top of my head.
So while it will be taller than what we typically have, I think it's something that this community will really value, especially with small, quaint cafes and shops that we'll be able to spend our money at. It'll be really good to have a walkable area where people can live and they can recreate right in our downtown. So I think it's really going to change the way that Richmond looks, while still keeping our town rural, because this is in our growth center. This is where we have determined that higher density commercial and mixed use and housing and industrial and whatnot is to be developed. So I think this is a really good project for Richmond. I think it's really good that we have a property owner developer that is willing to work with our community, and I'm looking forward to it, to seeing it develop. But I want to make sure that I provide at least some of the data and put some context to this. That I think it's gonna be a good opportunity. I'm looking forward to see it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
And after your comment, I just want to add.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Just, I think Councilman Madnick touched on this, but you guys did a lot of work on the design standards, which I think are so important to stress. The look and feel of this along 138 will match the rural character. So everything from the materials that'll be used to the roof lines, the structures, it will fit the look and feel of a small New England town. So that was something that we worked on, and I really appreciate you guys working together to make sure we can have something that's going to look like it fits into the town.
It's important to note that the maximum height would be 60, but that does not necessarily mean that all of the structures on the site will be 60 feet tall or will have 4 stories. This is just giving them space in which to move to determine how high the ceiling of the building will need to be. So just want to put that out there as well. There could very well be, maybe a couple of 60-foot buildings, but I don't think that the entirety of the development would necessarily all be 60-foot buildings.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So it seems like,
I want to add one more.
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
So something I state at work too with the critical nature of what we do, but these zoning amendments, and I know that we don't have a lot of people online, there's not a lot of people in the seats. These zoning amendments are critical to land use in our town and facilitating development. It's very important that we take a critical eye to the way that these things are written. I believe that we've done that. This is why we're having the public hearing. This is, like I said, this has been 18 months in the works. I think we've taken a new approach as a council, as a town, to really work with the property owner and make sure that they're benefiting, that we're benefiting, and this is, I guess, mutually beneficial for everyone. But we've really spent a lot of time on the wording here, and that's really important. We're not just going to rubber stamp this. There's been hours and hours and hours poured into this, and I'm glad to see finally at the public hearing where we can actually discuss it.
yeah. And it shows because I actually have no questions, which I think is very unlike me. I'm usually like, what is this and what are we doing and why? And asking a lot of questions. So I think that it 100% shows the work that got into this, that I'm sitting here. I read it so many times. I hate when I have to go to my boss and say, I have no questions. There's nothing wrong. I can't find this research. Like, that's like worst case scenario. And that's how I felt reading this, was like, I can't find anything here that I have a question about. But that doesn't mean the members of the public don't, or maybe some people online don't see something that we didn't see. So with nothing else, I think one last thank you so much for everyone's hard work. And we'll go to the public, see if anybody in the public has anything they'd like to say or ask. Sure. Just please state your name for the record when you get up there.
Douglas Delorier, Town of Richmond. So I just want to comment on something that Councilor Palmisano said earlier about the affordable housing provision of the property. I think it's necessary and will probably be wanted for the property owner because while this mixed commercial zone and industrial zone will likely and hopefully bring in some nice higher paying jobs, it's also going to bring in some lower wage jobs just as the necessity of running a building, these zones. So I think it would be in everyone's best interest to have affordable housing available, even if it takes extra time, extra permitting, extra consideration. Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
This plan. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. Maybe even partner with our affordable housing committee, see how they can help. Anybody else in the public? Or anybody online? All right. Motion to close our public hearing, please.
So moved. Second.
All right. We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Madnick.
Yes.
Palmisano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. We have an action on this item. Want to go for it, Counselor Madnick?
Yeah, let me pull up the
You might have to read it all.
I have a fridge in there if you want it.
No, I'll say I'm just gonna pull it off the computer. When we're tight, I hide the agenda so I can take notes. Okay, motion to approve the request from Kingston Road Property Owner LLC to amend the following chapters of the zoning ordinance. Chapter 18.12, section 18.12020, entitled Zoning Districts Defined, to define planned unit development in Village Center District. Chapter 18.16, section 18.16.010, to add uses that are allowed by right or by special use permit in the PUD VC zone. chapter 18.20, section 18.20.010, entitled Table of Dimensional Regulations, amending dimensional regulations in the PUDVC zone, section 18.20.050, entitled Regulations Applicable to Large-Scale Retail Development, exempting retail uses from chapter 18.20, section 18.20.050 in the PUDVC zone, chapter 18.42, section 18.42010 through 18.42.080, amending each section of the ordinance.
Second.
All right, any further council discussion? All right, we'll go for a vote. Counselor Mannick?
Well, one
Oh,
more.
sure.
I think we should have a hefty debate about the affordable housing requirement. And we find ourselves in an interesting position. And I want to make a couple statements and we'll see what the council decides. So Richmond has, I think, roughly 3.45 or 3.65% of the 10% affordable housing goal that the state mandates. In order to meet that goal, we would have to bring in, it's like 300 plus homes that are deed restricted LMI without any market rate units, which if you look at the way that the town is zoned and the permit applications, what we've been getting in the last 5 years, it's going to take us a very long time if we ever even get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it from the perspective of someone who has hired a number of people that are in their early 20s that cannot find places to live and work at Electric Boat. And I said it multiple times, like this area is very valuable because we're in between both major shipyards, Quonset and Groton. And while low to moderate income housing and affordable housing, where it's deed restricted to 80 to 120% of your area median income, it's great. I look at this and I think about what the needs of the community are. And right now, my opinion is we need more supply. And I would rather have an expedited process to get more supply, obviously done the right way,
Mm-hmm.
so that we have more houses that people can purchase, rather than potentially slowing it down by going through the affordable housing process where it won't even really contribute to our 10% mandated goal from the state. It won't move the needle. We'll essentially stay where we are. So I'm not against the affordable housing requirement. My position is I'd rather see the construction of the housing faster so that we can get the units and get people housing than slow that down.
Okay. What would we have to change to make that happen? I don't know. Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I just, I think it's a helpful conversation to paint the picture. So just explain how this 10% will slow things down.
So a couple things that Bill mentioned is the first thing is it limits profit for the developer. And when you go through the financial paperwork and you have to do the pro forma, what he had mentioned earlier, and you can correct me if I misstate this, but when you go through this, when they go to get financing and do this project, if they're not able to get financing through some of the affordable housing programs, a financier may look at this and say, well, I don't like the margin of this project, I won't finance it. If they're unable to get financing, they can't build. Also have to go through the state process of getting the deed restricted units, going through the financial pro forma, getting the HOA in place. But on the flip side, right, if you have either rental or for sale units that are deed restricted, it will control the pricing of those units for a number of years, especially for rental. So depending on who manages the units, the rental rates will, I would think, go up at a lower rate than the market rate. So it's like a balancing act. It's if they're able to get financing quicker for the mixed use portion, you will get houses faster. But if they can't, will it slow down the development of these houses that we desperately need. So like, that's kind of what I'm weighing. And I don't know what the right answer is.
Sure, go ahead, Talia. Thanks for
This
pointing
is
that out.
only tangentially related to the affordable housing component, and I'm just bringing it to your attention because it was referenced earlier. But in that section, 1842040C, which is the section that deals with the percentage of low to moderate income housing, I would note that the no residential dwelling unit in the district shall have more than 2 bedrooms was stricken. So if you want to retain the ability to have it just be 2 bedrooms, you're going to want to add that back. And if you want to remove the affordable housing component, then you would strike that sentence prior to that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention so you understood what that section of that was referring to. And also just to make mention of the fact that that 2-bedroom component, we had initially proposed to eliminate that line when we were at the planning board stage because we wanted to make sure that we were not going to run afoul of the state law, which governs low to moderate income housing, because there have been a lot of changes. And I know that for single family homes, you cannot limit the number of bedrooms. We were not entirely clear at that moment in time at the planning board meeting if that would apply to multifamily or other forms of housing that were not single family, which is why we struck it, because we didn't want to ultimately recommend something that would be inconsistent with state law. But if you are interested in having the 2-bedroom provision, I'd say you want to add that back in because that's presently been stricken in this particular iteration.
What page is that on, or can you repeat? So I'm trying to find it.
17.
Lord, okay. Thank you.
Thanks for pointing out the 2 bedroom. I remember the planning board talking about that and I
Yes.
misremembered and I missed it here.
Well, you had 90 some odd pages to review for just this particular agenda item, so.
So I think the point we're talking about here is there is going to be housing with these 2 bedrooms that is affordable housing. It will be apartments that people can rent that is not on the market today. They're not single family homes. What Councilor Madnick was referencing was removing the deed restricted, subsidized, or I want to use the right term.
You could say capital A affordable in
Okay.
like the sense of low to moderate income housing being affordable capital A versus non-deed restricted housing that is affordable lowercase a, that is not deed restricted, but is within the price point that a person could purchase it without being
And I think to his point,
really wealthy.
correct me if I'm wrong, he's saying that the need in the community is for the, I forget, lowercase or uppercase, affordable housing, not deed restricted. Is that correct? Okay.
Smaller units that are more affordable by definition because they're not single family dwelling units.
Okay.
I could argue for capital A and lowercase a, but I understand the perspective that you're bringing to this discussion, so. I just wanted to make sure that you understood that particular component had changed.
Yeah.
Because it's in the same section that deals with the income. And I would just note that if you are in the audience and you're talking, you can be picked up on the microphone, and that makes it a little bit hard to hear other things that are happening up here. Thank you.
Just as tangential question, there is another development going in on Stilson. I forget how many units you would know. 69 units. What's the classification of those and what percentage are?
That is a comp permit, so 25% of the total number of units would be deed restricted affordable.
So we'll have deed restricted affordable there
Yes.
in the short term.
Well, I can't predict when that will be submitted. They have received a preliminary plan approval. I'm waiting for their final plan submission. So I don't have a specific timeline on when those will go live,
Okay.
but
We'll have that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so do you have an amendment you want to make to try to take an action?
I'm just thinking about something that Talia stated about state law. I mean, the cross out. The problem is we're in discussion. Bill, do you mind standing up and pointing like a question for you, sir? Does being restricted to 2-bedroom units affect how you would potentially develop this mixed use area?
Not necessarily. I will say, I think the market is gonna be for, as you mentioned, smaller units that, you know, to diversify the housing stock. Also, people that need 3-bedroom units. You know, that, you know, they may find single-family, housing options that provide that. I would anticipate that, if the 3-bedroom option was available, we would probably add some, but it would be, you know, less than 10% of the housing stock in multifamily.
I'm really torn on this.
Yeah, I understand. Affordable housing is very important for a variety of reasons, both for the younger generation growing up, but also our elderly community looking to downsize and stay in the area they call home. It's very challenging for a lot of people. So I understand wanting to make sure we have it in the right places, and this is one of those right places to have affordable housing. And 10% doesn't move the needle. Even the 25 doesn't move the needle because it increases our percentage. So I understand the challenge. I don't know. I think we can or we can't limit it to 2 bedrooms because of state law. But did you have something you want to add?
No, I'm just,
Okay.
I think, you know, I think we think about a 2-bedroom apartment that is affordable. It is affordable. So just for the record, I mean, you know, like if you're looking to buy a house in Richmond today, good luck. I mean, they're off the scale, but a 2-bedroom apartment, buying or renting, whatever, you know, that's, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but what, you know, what are we looking at cost wise for the consumer that either renting that you have?
Well, then we get into the issue of how units are considered affordable, which is another problem. Because we have units that are affordable, but they're not counted towards being affordable for our 10%. So that's just like, that's a whole nother circus and a whole nother monkey.
Yep.
So, not for today's discussion, but for his development and for the community development, you know, being a partner with the town, making sure we have enough housing is important.
Yeah, and I think we will with what's going on in Stilson, and then this with 2-bedroom apartments, I think we will.
Yeah.
I think.
So would you rather switch it, cross out the affordable requirement and then require up to 2 bedrooms maximum?
Is that legal? Is that, I mean, you talk about the problem with state laws, or any issue with doing that?
Well, so the problem with the planning board mentioned, man, I wish Bryce was here, is that they didn't think, and we don't know if we can limit affordable units to a certain size, like certain amount of bedrooms.
Mhm.
So they struck that. Now, what we could do is if we keep the 10% in, we could say no residential dwelling unit in district shall have more than 2 bedrooms if allowed by state law.
Can I ask our attorney?
That way that Counselor Madnick posed it is fine, because you're giving yourself the option to comply with state law. You haven't taken a firm stand either way.
Mhm.
That would be a way to craft a language that would allow you to do it. If it's not in compliance with state law, you don't.
Yeah. Have you looked into whether or not?
The issue just came up this evening.
Okay.
No, I have not.
Yeah, no worries.
So, I mean, that's one option, or as we've been discussing, 2-bedroom units by definition, looking at Richmond, are affordable. And we don't require the developer to get the deed restricted units, and then they're market rate.
All right. We'll need to amend the motion because we're not approving the ordinance as is. If we go with your language. Sorry, go with your language. I just talked under my breath a little.
All right, I'll make a motion to amend the ordinance to remove the requirement for 10% of the residential development permitted in district shall be deed restricted to lower moderate income units.
Is that a motion to amend the original motion?
Yes.
Okay. I'll second it. Any further council discussion on it? I think, does our town solicitor have a question?
No.
Okay.
You're fine.
You're like jumping out of your seat. You don't
No, I'm just
usually.
I'm just watching what you're doing.
Keep an eye on us.
So just to be clear, what you're looking at this bullet point, there's no more requirement for affordable units, and there's no more requirement to keep it to 2 bedrooms.
Correct.
I think it's the opposite of what we're trying to do, though. Wouldn't we want it there? Why would we strike it entirely?
We're gonna take one at a time. I want to make that clear. We're not gonna
Oh, so this is just, are you gonna do another motion to amend?
Do you want me to, I can do both at one. I want to just make it very.
That
clear.
just makes it more,
Okay.
yeah, more concise and clear, yeah.
So
so
I'll amend
Do that motion.
my motion to
Are you gonna
amend
amend
the
it?
main one to also re-include no residential dwelling unit in the district shall have more than 2 bedrooms.
Okay,
So it's the opposite of the purple color you're seeing.
10% will be stricken and,
No residential dwelling unit in the district shall have more than 2 bedrooms.
They're both stricken, correct, Counselor Madnick?
No, we would be unstriking the,
10%.
no, the 2-bedroom.
Oh, unstriking 2-bedroom and restriking
Yes.
or just
So,
striking.
so it would just read,
Go ahead, Talia.
no residential dwelling unit in the district shall have more than 2 bedrooms.
That's an easier amendment to make. Hold on. Let's see, because Kendra's probably gonna, I'm driving her nuts. Okay.
She's like, no, I got this.
In section 18.42.040, standards and requirements for development. Section C will state, no residential dwelling unit in the district shall have more than 2 bedrooms.
Okay, the second for discussion. But now we're not getting the deed restricted that we need to comply or to reach the goal of 10%. We're not getting any closer.
We wouldn't be getting closer anyway.
Yeah, goalposts are always moving. I guess it doesn't matter. Sure, go ahead, Erin.
Next legislative session, I'm sure with affordable housing is.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of motion right now on what else could be included or identified as affordable, because if that law changes, we will hit our target, no problem. It's just they're not recognizing those properties as
Mhm.
affordable. So, yeah, I think this enables us to move forward.
It does. Is that agreeable to our developer as well? Yeah, okay, good. You've been such a good partner so far. I just wanna get the okay.
There wasn't, I don't think there was a second on the amendment.
I did second it,
did
yeah.
second it,
Thank
okay.
you for
Very
making
good.
sure.
Quietly.
Sorry, I will speak into the microphone a little better. We're a little relaxed sometimes up here. So we have our motion to amend the main motion, so we'll go for a vote, roll call vote, Counselor Mandic,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. And we still have our main motion on the floor, which is to approve the ordinances with that one change. Any further council questions or discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll go for our roll call vote, Counselor Madnick.
1 second. Solicitor
Okay.
asked a question. I believe
Oh, he did?
Parmesan seconded it.
You did second the main motion. Yes, Counselor Parmigiano?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, I didn't hear that question. Microphones.
It's an excellent. Yes.
Palmigano
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. Thank you again so much.
Thank you. Really look forward to working with you.
Thank you. We look forward to it as well.
It'll be complete next week. Just checking.
No, we're gonna get that pavilion first. Next, can we have another public hearing, a discussion consideration of proposed amendments to the Richmond Town Code of Ordinances 5.20. Can we have a motion to open our public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. All right, any council discussion on this? Do you want to give a quick overview
Yeah.
for the public?
Just, this is the no-knock registry. This has been great debate. I think we've had robust discussion with council members, with staff and from the public on refining this to be where it is today. I want to thank everyone for their hard work on it. I do want to just, and I'm not going to put Chief on the spot, but Chief, you and I had a conversation about some activity that happened just this past week that is germane to this. And I'll paraphrase, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially, again, we had an incident where there was some unpermitted door-to-door activity going on. The police were contacted and called because the resident was concerned. There was a question of whether they'd received their permit or not. It is possible, not exactly, that this was a continuation of the same activity that was happening around a month ago with the same individuals who were at that time told that they needed to have a permit. So my personal experience with door-to-door, I've had a gentleman come from Anderson Window about a month ago, had his lanyard on, he had his permit with him, he was very polite, and I actually had a great conversation with him. I'm not against door-to-door sales at all. What I'm against is people that are doing it the wrong way, the people that are not following the process, and the people that cause undue angst to the residents when they don't know who's coming to their house. So it is my hope that this registry will put the power back in the hands of the residents to determine whether they want someone coming to their house or not. So thanks everyone for their work on this.
Yeah, thank you as well. All right, public hearings open, seeing no council discussion, we'll go to the public. Anybody have anything they'd like to add? Kendra, do we have anybody online? Oh, sure, Mr. Lally. Do state your name for the record, though.
David Lally, Richmond. This hearing is about amending the no hawkers and peddlers.
Yes, we've had discussions over the past year or so regarding the door-to-door sales. It came to head when some licenses were being declined because some people did not like those licenses. And I said, you know, tonight we're not here to discuss that. We're just here to discuss whether or not this person gets this license that we're allowed to give them. If we want to change it, we got to change the ordinances. And Councilor Palmigano was like, I will do that. And he's been working tirelessly on finding something that's agreeable to both protecting commercial First Amendment rights, protecting our residents, and making sure we have what we're calling a no-knock registry for residents to sign up for. If you sign up for the no-knock registry, quarterly, the door-to-door salespeople will get a list of your name, and they are not allowed to go to your house. If they do, we've increased the fees, the fines, I should say. I think we increased the fees as well, did we?
Yeah, we did.
So we both increased the fees and increased the fines for people who are violating our ordinances. That those funds will go to our rec commission so we can enjoy more activities together as a community.
Yeah, I would be against the no knock ordinance in itself, the whole idea of it. It's kind of restrictive. It is restrictive to businesses to trying to drum up business going door to door. And they just have to register to get a permit. The town has to keep track of who's registered, who isn't registered. The police department gets extra work sorting out who's people who are not criminals, have no danger to the public at all. It's just repressive. And if a person doesn't want a peddler, they can just put a no soliciting sign on their property. And simple as that. I think it's just government overreach and bureaucracy that's unnecessary, totally unnecessary. And I would recommend repealing the ordinance. So that's where I stand.
Thank you, Mr. If you don't mind staying at the podium while I address your point, Mr. Lally, I appreciate your comments. First of all, we're not stopping door-to-door sales. We're not stopping it at all. We're putting the power in the hands of people who have no solicitation. I've talked to many constituents who actually have no solicitation and beware of dog signs. And these people walk right through that and go right to their door. So all I'm saying is if you don't want to have someone disturb you, you can register for this. Other than that, if you do nothing, you will have plenty of people come to your door and you can have wonderful conversations. As far as commerce, I agree with you, but door-to-door sales started in an era well before the internet. If I want to get solar or Anderson window or bugs or any kind of protection, first place I'm going to go is online. And then I will inquire. And this happened with several that I checked. And then I started getting emails about it. My interest is not to restrict or be overreach. I want to protect the rights of people in this town because in many cases, people use this same avenue to case houses to determine whether someone's home and then commit larceny. So the intent is not to restrict, it is to protect. Thank you.
And I will say, I actually, when this first got brought up, I felt the same way. Just put up a no soliciting sign and call it a day. People do that. And I think after talking it out, having both those options is a good option because it gives the person an opportunity to see where they should not be going. And then as they're going door to door, they should stop at a no soliciting sign. They really should. And I like Councilor Palmigano's point about protecting people because we do a background check and we have their name, we know who they are and that they're going door to door. I actually did have somebody come to my door 2 days after Christmas, knock on my door, tell me they were with my insurance company and that they needed to look at the outside of my home to reevaluate my home insurance. And thank God my family was there because I said, I'm sorry, I'm so busy right now, come back later. He goes, I have a deadline. I was like, great, come back before your deadline. Haven't seen that guy again. Haven't seen my insurance company again. So after that experience, I think that people need to really sign up and know that they're going to the door. That being said, we're not restricting political speech. We're not restricting nonprofits and religious speech as well, because First Amendment. So I think that through our conversations, we found a really good balance. But yes, I'll turn it back over to you.
I think thing I would say is that some startup companies, that's the only way they can really start up is by soliciting door to door to drum up business, you know?
Hmm.
And they have a restriction on them. They're worried about fines and who not to go to. It's kind of a burden.
Yeah, that point came up. It's a great point, like seal coating, right? You see a lot of driveway seal coating, and the seal coaters go to one house, they do a house, and then they want to talk to the neighbors. The town administrator has first right of refusal to put a fine aside on that first offense, because some people might not know. So if that offense comes to her, she can say, here's the way we do it. The recommendation is give the pamphlets to the homeowner, have the homeowner hand them out, or do a mailer, right? Do a mailer, which is easy enough to do. It's just, I would rather see that than someone's privacy or their property impeded. Let them do it the right way. There's many ways to do it. Facebook, there's tons of digital ways to do it nowadays. But I mean, this has been a great debate the last, 6 months we've been talking about this. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you like
The other
raising
thing
it.
is, too, so it's more work for the town, to keep track of all this
Once a quarter.
work. And for the police department, it's just puts more work on everybody. It's a burden for not just the small business owner who wants to drum up business, but also the town and the when in a time when we're trying to cut expenses, you know, we have used our rainy day fund and all of that. So I don't know, just
There's no additional cost incurred for this. We've already talked to the administrator. We refined the process to make sure it wasn't burdensome. We made sure that it's once a quarter, it's digital. And you weigh the pros and cons. I think this is a win-win. And to quote some of our members of school committee previously, I have hundreds of emails from people who have said thank you for this. So hundreds of emails.
I did not get hundreds of emails, but lots of complaints.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anybody online? All right, can we have a motion to close our public hearing?
So moved.
Second, go for a roll call vote. Counselor Mandick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. We have an action on this item. Would you like to take that action?
Yes, motion to approve the proposed amendments to the Richmond Town Code of Ordinances, chapter 5.20 entitled Hawkers, Peddlers, and Door-to-Door Salespersons, adding sections 5.20.070 entitled Door-to-Door Commercial Solicitation, Regulation of Door-to-Door Commercial Solicitation, and chapter 3.06 entitled Scheduled Fees.
Second, any further council discussion?
I would just like to add that I would ask the administrator to send a copy of this new ordinance to the 38 other cities and towns that are around to make them aware that we are leading from the front.
For sure. And let us know when this no-knock registry is up and running so we can share it with our constituents as well.
I think it says as soon as
We're ready to go.
Well, I mean, like, once they publish it on Notify Me, I'm sure they'll put it on Notify Me if you haven't signed up. We'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Mandick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes.
Thank you.
All right, let me go back to our agenda. License, discussion, consideration of a request of a Print Cycle LLC for a complete application for 1-year peddler license. We have an action on this.
Yeah, motion to discuss and consider the request of the Print Cycle LLC for a complete application for a 1-year peddler license.
So not to approve or deny it, just discuss it?
To approve.
Okay, just clarifying, thank you. I'll second it for discussion. Do we have any council questions? All right, we'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Mandick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. All right. On to new hires, discussion and consideration of hiring a part-time custodian. I'll turn it over to you, Erin, if you want to add anything before we make a motion.
Sure, yes, I want to apologize to the public as well as the council. Usually we like to have names on the agenda, but with the short turnaround of the posting and closing and interviews, we didn't want to delay any further. So this was placed as a placeholder, but I am pleased to report that we have an excellent candidate, Miss Andrea Gardner, who is here this evening, and Public Works Director Robar, Superintendent Duquette, and I interviewed her, and she'd be well qualified to fulfill the position. And she has a proposed start date should be approved of July 27th at the advertised rate of $22 per hour at 18 hours per week.
Awesome. Do we have an action on this one?
Yeah, motion to authorize the hire of Andrea Gardner as part-time custodian. Budget up to 18 hours per week at a rate of $22 per hour with an anticipated start date of July 27th, 2026.
Second.
All right, we'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Welcome to the party.
Thank you.
All right. And then next, appointments and resignation. I'll make a motion to approve the request of James L. McLeroy to be reappointed to the Emergency Management Agency with a term expiring July 31st, 2028.
Second.
Any council discussion on this one? All right, we'll go for our vote. Counselor Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. All right. I did move my agenda. On to consent agenda. Do you guys have anything you need to pull?
1A, please.
1A. All right, any others? All right, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda 1B, 2A, B, C, D, and 3 and 4.
Second.
Before our roll call vote, Counselor Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. All right, so what do we have on 1A? Any amendments, or were you not up?
Yeah, there's an amendment. So
Okay.
on page 3 in the. All right, so about halfway down, we were making motions to adopt the Richmond Environmental Hazard and Resiliency Commission.
Mhm.
The actual motion and the votes to adopt it is not there. There's motion to amend it, but the other motion is missing. Or the full details aren't there.
All right, so we have a motion made by yourself, seconded by Counselor Palmigano to amend the previous motion.
That's,
I'm sure we went back and voted on that main motion.
yeah, so the votes aren't there. But if you see the first motion,
Yeah.
then Solicitor Zingari had some changes, like inconsistencies. Then I made the amendment, so that we voted on, but there's no recording of the votes for the main motion to adopt the ordinance.
As long as they made it on tape.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda 1A with that one update.
Second.
We'll go for our vote. Counselor Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. All right, on to public forum. The purpose of public forum is to give members of the public an opportunity to address the town council about items not on the agenda. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. You'll have one opportunity to address the town council during public forum. This is out of courtesy of others who wish to speak to ensure we have equal time for all. There will be a timer which will go off when your 3 minutes are up, so you know to finish. If you need more time, we welcome you to submit your comments in writing to the town clerk to be included as a part of the record in the communication section of the agenda. All comments should be directed to the president, not any other person present. This is all per our rules and procedures. Who do we have for public comment tonight? Sure. Go ahead. Please do state your name for the record.
Good evening, Madam President and council staff. Gary Parker, Richmond, from Economic Development Commission. Just had a meeting this morning, or actually this afternoon, with Mr. Christopher Gershmeyer. He basically is the operations director at the Boss Ice Rink for our whole ice rink planning process. We've discussed some other alternatives besides the smaller rink. We've discussed a larger rink and the possibility that his organization could actually act as a not an operations provider for the rink, but would actually provide some ice time, basically customers, so to speak, who could actually use our ice rink just once it gets developed. Might be a larger rink, and it might have to go to what I would call the Nimitz class ice rink, where it's 200 by 85 as opposed to 90 by 60.
Mhm.
But that is feasible in the Charahoe parking lot. All we have to do, of course, is get the plaza, the capstone really to say yes. But yeah, that was Dave Allen, my EDC point person for the rink itself. Other EDC things, just want to ask, because we have some collective wisdom here. Is it possible, ma'am, for us to send in a survey? We would like to send a townwide survey for the EDC, trying to kind of take the pulse of entrepreneurship interests, people who might be interested in starting a business. Is it possible to notify people via the Notify Me system?
Yes, you would work with our town administrator on that.
Okay.
One of the policies that we worked on maybe last year now was a policy on the commissions and sending out surveys,
Right.
kind of a uniform way to make sure it's captured for public records reasons and make it so it's a little more concise so people will want to take it too. So we have some guidance on that
Most
I think we'll ask our town administrator to send you, or town clerk, however she feels fit.
certainly. Sounds great. Yeah, absolutely. I'll visit with the town administrator.
Yeah.
We can sort that out. At our next meeting, we're gonna flesh out what that survey will look like, but absolutely concise and to the point, really getting to the question of, would you like to start a business? That's our single biggest missing data point from the
Awesome.
community at large.
I think that would be the inaugural survey using
It
that
might be.
process, so good for you, Gary.
Great. Thanks.
You can cut the ribbon.
That's right. Leading from the front, sir, as you
That's
said.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, first one down the chute. That's all I have, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public forum? Anybody online? Okay. When you do get permissions, please state your name for the record. No, we have somebody online, yeah. Okay.
Yes, William J. I'm just concerned for a number of meetings that I've watched online. I know you people probably live this, but that's why you don't want to watch town council meetings on replay, but it's very, very difficult to hear people in the podium speaking. I didn't catch that gentleman's name that you had the debate with. Clearly, everybody at the table was very clear in what they were saying, and this gentleman, just the way he speaks, is not projecting into the microphone or whatever you're using. But I don't know. I can't speak for myself, but my hearing is pretty good, and it's strange to hear people at the microphones other than the table. I think is something that maybe somebody should be investigating to find out why when somebody turns their head a quarter turn around and another, you can't even hear them. So that's I think a legitimate concern with people aren't attending the meetings in public. So thank you.
It is, thank you. We don't watch online, so I appreciate that. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, Erin, if that podium was moved closer underneath, does that help?
No,
It doesn't?
well, it does, but then it picks up. We've tested a few different things, and that overhead is picking up the audience all the way in the back. And so when sometimes I think it cuts out when people are discussing, papers are moving, people, even just this cuts out
It's noise dampening.
noise dampening. And so we have looked at that back a lot of different ways. Unfortunately, not everybody feels super comfortable coming to a podium, so they talk down.
Mhm.
They don't look up. And so that all plays into it because you don't have a podium sitting
Yeah.
right in front of you. But
And the only, I was just gonna say also, we all have microphones and they don't interfere with that. Could there be a microphone at the podium?
we could invest in that. But
Yeah.
that's why we invested in that very.
But that's not working for them, for the podium.
Well, I'll go back and check tape, but I would say the majority of the time.
Yeah, but it's an option. Something to look into maybe?
Sure, if it's not in this year's budget,
How
but
much is a,
rerunning this whole thing to do the.
oh,
upgrades.
it's not just adding a,
Weren't these
okay.
new during your first term too?
I don't know.
Was that?
Yeah.
So maybe you could look into the investment there. if you do.
Capital project.
Yeah.
More microphones, and it was about $7,000 to add the 2 additional, so.
But when we collaborate with the 3 towns, we'll get a better deal, so.
Oh, there's the
Thank
3
you.
minutes on that topic.
So, thank you.
We can go back and take a look, they do it, we have a company that does adjust that.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah.
that overhead picks up close to as long as
you should. be
it's
able
not
to.
dampening.
Right, we can tell when when we go pause and everything goes quiet, or sometimes if there's a lot of people here, it can get cut out, but
Shifting
I'd
the transcripts,
appreciate-
papers, all of
well,
that
that's me then.
does get filtered out.
Okay,
Sometimes lowers the noise,
all right.
Thank you.
but we can
Thank
take a
you.
look at it.
I'll put enough on my-
Do we have anybody else for public comment? All right, we'll go on to reports. Erin, you're up first.
So my first item is we've had Elevated Consulting working on Shannock Tower. For those of you that don't know, that's the fire tower that was damaged in the fire. And it has taken a long time to come to this point. This firm has been really great to work with, and there's been delays completely out of their control. A large part of it was through the HUD review, which was required for the congressional funding that we received, and making sure that it made the historical needs, and so that delayed it quite a bit. So considering that, they're requesting an increase in the initially approved contract, which goes back to 2024, in an additional total addendum of $20,123.96. And given these delays, the costs of supplies, I'm surprised it's not higher, to be honest. I've also asked Chief Johnson and Chief Barber to provide some comments, because they've been working on this project longer than I have, and have the most familiarity working with Elevated, but they've been completely a great partner in this. They were the lowest bid by quite a bit initially. I don't have that number on top of my head.
$250,000 less than the next highest bidder.
So this is a request to just approve the addendum so we can continue on, and the project is on track to be completed early this fall, I would say.
Awesome. Go ahead, Councilor Palmigano.
There's $5,384 that's gonna be incurred by this. Right? Where's that money coming from?
So we received congressional 165,000 from congressional Langevin money, as well as we have ARPA funding towards this. So we do have the funding.
Okay.
Yes.
We're not gonna get that, because it was, as I understood from the literature, the cost incurred was because of a change in the layout.
Oh, that we're taking that. Yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna, that cost is added because of the historical.
Yeah, no chance of billing them.
No. We are moving on. It is.
Yep.
Not, it's a sore subject.
All right, as long as it's covered. All right, I just want to
No.
be sure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great question.
Madam Chair,
Sure, go ahead.
just to clarify it, in the text, it's a little over 5,000, but in the chart that was provided, the total addendum is over 20,000.
Yeah, so that's the movement. So the cost to move that, I think, is what is the 5,000. But yes, the addendum is total in total with supplies and everything, 20,000.
So,
That's the increase.
yeah, my one question was,
We have it,
we have the funding to cover the material cost increase.
and this is not taxpayer money of the town of Richmond. This is all federal grant funding through congressional and American Rescue Funds.
Awesome. We have an action on this one.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to authorize the addendum with Elevated Consulting for Shannock Tower. Is the 20,423.96, is that the total, or is that only a piece of it?
That's the total. Yep.
Okay, the addendum total 20,423.96.
Second.
All right, any further
Second.
council questions? All right, we'll go for our vote. Councilor Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. On to your next item, Erin.
So the next item is an amendment to our Public Works ordinance regarding adding a third superintendent. I think those of us who've been here for a while, when the talk of Scott retiring, 2 superintendents were created under the ordinance to have some transition. We have reviewed the transfer station quite extensively throughout this last year, and we have found that the person that's responsible in overseeing it is not the person that does the day-to-day operations. When Councilor Dinsmore was here, we worked closely with Ricky, who would be the proposed new superintendent, and we have found that the transfer station is an entity of its own, and it should be managed as such, and so we can keep a better eye on managing the day-to-day as well as the financial picture of the transfer station. So this is just a request to authorize the amendment to go to advertising to have 2 superintendents. I'm sorry, to have 3 versus the 2 superintendents.
All right, sure, go ahead.
Just the headcount budget implication of this?
This was included in the budget that was approved. So this was done in advance. So this, we needed the budget to pass, and now we're gonna change the ordinance and formalize the hiring of Mr.
Okay. And I know we have another agenda item later, which I will not speak of yet, but this will be very helpful in the discussion on that. Since we'll have a.
Yeah, so the personnel portion of this should happen, in my opinion, regardless of what happens on the later
Mhm.
item,
Yep.
for the oversight that's needed to run the
Yeah.
operation.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that question.
Perfect.
Sure, go ahead, Councilor Manning.
Yeah, Madam Chair, so just reading the change in the ordinance, I noticed that we are striking out the responsibility to maintain stormwater management systems located and adjacent to town street rights of way. I did not see that. Other than like in B, is the changing of the wording, does that still cover us?
My apologies. Yes, so during that review with the superintendents and Public Works Director Robar, we also wanted to make sure that each superintendent had their divisions defined, and so that language was created to ensure that that was done. And so that would go under drainage infrastructure in B. So that would fall under that superintendent, as well as we added a liaison to the town's water system operator, which is different from the town water system, which currently is falling kind of default fell under Superintendent Caswell, but this formalizes that as well.
So does the terminology change? Does that matter for us here?
No.
Okay.
We think it more closely aligns with what's actually happening, but all bases of are covered for services.
Okay, just want to make sure we were clear there, because we're going from stormwater management systems to drainage infrastructure.
Yeah. All right. So I will make a motion to ask our town clerk to advertise, for public hearing, chapter 2.13.030.
Second.
Any further council questions or discussion? All right, we'll go for a vote. Councilor Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. On to your last item.
So through this review, starting, I would say late last fall, when staff met with Councilor Dinsmore, when we really started looking at the transfer station and the gap of the revenues compared to expenses, we took a look at the transfer station and provided Hopkinton discussed, that we would need to amend what they currently paid. Through this review, I was surprised we never had a mutual agreement besides that the town of Hopkinton would pay us annually $75,000 with no end date, and that we would also receive their cap, which is important. And so that was formalized in a letter just to the solid waste in one motion. I believe, given the use of the transfer station, the operating cost of the transfer station, that a mutual agreement would be more appropriate here. And so that's when this started to review and the costs associated with running the transfer station. Hopkinton, previously, their residents paid for a sticker. This changed in 2022 to go to the fee-based of the town of Hopkinton paying $75,000. So initial letters were sent back in February to formalize. The council voted to change that fee of $150,000, and Hopkinton is now countered back with $100,000 and also recommending a sticker program. I can see where Town Manager Rosso is going in that. However, our infrastructure is a scale-based system. It will not raise enough revenue, I believe, strictly from the sale of stickers. And in my outline memo, I believe a pay-as-you-go program is more appropriate for the users of the system. Town Manager Rosso discusses that, it should be neutral, and while it would be an ideal world for the transfer station to be completely in the black, that's just not a realistic goal, because we collect recyclables with no cost of the person depositing it. However, we have costs associated with hauling those recyclables to Rhode Island Resource Recovery. Through that review, when we had Richmond and we had people paying for the stickers of Hopkinton, we were transmitting about 5 loads to Rhode Island Resource Recovery, and now we're out weekly, and now we're about 13 to 15 loads. So the use of the transfer station has increased quite substantially since 2022. So we began tracking those numbers, and we're seeing that the use of the transfer station is about 50-50 between Hopkinton and Richmond. And those numbers flop where sometimes Richmond is 52% and Hopkinton's 48%, back and forth, but it's relatively both users of the systems of the town's transfer station seem to be from Hopkinton and Richmond kind of equally. So, part of town manager's concern, Russell's concerns is that, the town of Hopkinton, if included in the budget, every person who is a taxpayer of Hopkinton is paying towards this. And I would agree, the same thing has happened to Richmond, and we've been absorbing that for several years. And through that review, Danielle put the 4-year plan, and that's how we began to see some of those deficits. That's in the second page of my memo. We were at a loss the first year with Hopkinton of 17,000, second year only 9. The third year, that was what we discussed, 73,000. And this current year, 67,000, but Hopkinton has not paid yet. So we're actually, with the revenue adjustments, we're going to be a little increase, which is nice. But knowing we're going to renegotiate our contract with hauling, our diesel prices are not going down, and those were negotiated 3 years ago. So we do expect those to be higher. And the costs associated for safety reasons, for use, the volume that is going through there. That used to be a staff of 1, and many people remind me of that, but that's just not simply a good practice in this day and age to run that type of entity with 1 person. So we've gone to 2 the last 2 years, and proposed in the budget is a weekend additional personnel to help, because I do see sometimes when we get concerns of efficiency and can we get it more efficient? Well, we can't with 1 or 2, so we think 3. But I have not advertised for that position, as the town council needs to consider what ultimately Hopkinton will pay this last year.
I'm going to kick it off with a policy question, I guess more procedure question. Did Mr. Rosso bring this to his council? And I asked that thinking he didn't, because I watched Hopkinton Town Council meetings as an interested member who lives in Hope Valley. Sometimes I care about the things they're talking about, but I didn't see this come up. Do you know if maybe I missed it because I don't watch them all, but do you know if it went to his council?
No, I believe that he had discussions with his council president.
So just one of the 5 members are making a decision? So for me, I would like to have them have an open discussion with the entire council and see how they all feel about a policy that we're creating in partnership with them. And if a joint council meeting is necessary, I'd be open to that. They're not far, but I don't know. I just would like to see, I guess, more collaboration with the council as a whole. That's my first thought. Thank you for answering it. And any other questions specifically here?
Yeah, I was going to suggest some type of conversation, but that sounds what the council president is suggesting, either a robust discussion between them or conversation with us with them. I think that would be helpful. My view on the transfer station is, I think we have some root cause analysis to understand where we're not, if it's recycling that we're losing money on, like we have to look at how we plug the hole, fix it, incorporate whatever charges that are feasible to implement to do it, and we go forward there. I know that a couple of the council members are users of the transfer station. I am not. I pay for private trash hauling, which goes through there eventually anyway, right? But I think it's as a taxpayer, we can't operate at a loss. We have to figure it out so that it's at least neutral.
Yeah.
That
That
will never happen, unfortunately, because of the volume. And what's important to understand is that our recyclables are based on the rates we pay to dispose of our trash. So if our recyclable numbers go down, the cost to operate that transfer station is going to be more. And so many services that the town do not provide at a neutral line item. That's just the cost of doing business on a day-to-day. And this is one of the services we provide that is that way. we've come close now this year. We made major gains between a loss of 73,000 and once I requested payment again. But that doesn't count. That does not incorporate the capital improvements that have been solely supported by the town of Richmond the last few years that haven't been being done because those capital improvements keep getting eliminated. And that's why we're at the position now, I believe, with the transfer station because it needs so much improvements. But, you know, we've come a long way in addressing and looking at that. And we need the computer database to do that. We need staffing to do that. And none of those things were really,
Ricky's really good with that, which is a good
Yeah,
thing as a
yeah.
supervisor. I'd like to see it plus or minus 10% within range, which I think you're gonna get
We're
close to
getting
this year. That the plus or minus 10% is fine. Otherwise we have to have a fee incorporated in, right? It makes no sense when it's a service that is utilized by a subset, it is paid. It's the same thing as a water line. We had this discussion with the water line. The subset of people who use the water line, those people incur the cost, not the entire town. So we have to figure that out.
yes, but it's different than the water line to the fact that we have services in town that not every resident uses in departments. And so this is one department that not every resident uses. And we do get, we are getting closer because we have revisited our fees.
Yeah.
We were not in alignment with those fees. So those fees were increased a few years ago. That's bridging that gap. But I think every department of town hall, you know, is not going to be revenue neutral. And that's just simply
The way it is.
the way that unfortunately not everybody uses the town clerk's office. Not everybody applies for a building and zoning, you know, a permit and they utilize those services. So some of those services are different, but operating an enterprise fund like the water fund, that's a little different. But the transfer station, yes, should be, the bulk should be absorbed by those using it. And that's why the fees have been adjusted. But going to a sticker-based program, it does not support the fees just in the general math
Yeah.
and account for capital improvements
Right.
that need to happen that have not happened in 10 years.
If you're 30,000 off, that's 10%, right?
Yeah.
It's 79. I mean, I think you've done a lot of work to get us closer, which is all I could ask, just trying to get it closer. Otherwise we have to do something to fix it. I mean, it shouldn't be rocket science to try to figure this out. And I understand that, you know, if you say we're never gonna operate it at a neutral or a profit, it's not a profit center, it's a service. But you know, if we had 50 services that were all losing money, we'd have a big problem, you know.
Well, this was a big number, and that's why last year we were like, whoa, you know, this was pointed out, and I was like, well, how is this happening? And we had not adjusted our fees in quite some time. So that needed to happen. Some of it is, you know, it's comparison of budgeting, right? It's a budget number that some of these variables are being looked at, not actual expenses. And we don't have the time, we don't have a full year under our belt to see what those revenues are from when we've adjusted those fees. But we're already seeing the difference in revenues based on our demo was we were way under and we collected that the most. That was probably one of our higher falls out. We were very low in the area comparable. So we hope to bridge that gap, but I just setting the reality that we take 3 or 4 loads of recyclables out weekly. That costs us $279 a haul. We're not going to absorb those costs to do.
Good, Councilor Manick.
Oh, a number of things to touch on. It's really unfortunate that the town administrator doesn't feel the need to talk to the whole council when we're discussing how to fund a shared asset. I think you make a good point that Richmond has borne the brunt and the financial aspect of capital improvements of the transfer station. Hopkinton has not contributed to it. I read through Mr. Rosso's memo to us. It is infeasible at this time to implement any changes to an enterprise-based or user-based model. So right now we have to kind of work through what we're stuck with, which I think is the right thing to do. I think we're on the right path. Which is requesting Hopkinton to provide more funding to the transfer station. And I don't think $100,000 is going to cut it. Just looking at these numbers, I don't believe these numbers include personnel costs. They are lower than what was budgeted in our budget this year. We were at $150,000 difference. And I know there's, conversation about whether it should be cost neutral or plus or minus 10%, or, because it's a service, we're going to pay for some of it. But we requested an additional $75,000 to kind of try to bridge the gap. And that's in our budget right now. And that doesn't even include any funding for capital expenditures to improve our transfer station. So we're still in the hole. So I still believe that Hopkinton needs to increase their share to utilize an asset that we maintain that they are not. Richmond is subsidizing Hopkinton big time. And if Hopkinton doesn't want to work with us and pay to use this asset that we maintain, then Hopkinton can develop their own transfer station using their own capital funds, and they can pay for it through Hopkinton user fees. I'm taking a hard line on this. We fight every year regarding the Charahoe School District. And, well, I don't send my kids there anymore. Should I pay for it? Well, Hopkinton, maybe you should build your own transfer station and we don't have to deal with this anymore. Or you can pay a small portion of it so that we can get our transfer station up to where it needs to be, and so that Richmond residents stop subsidizing that community. It's very simple for me.
Yeah. And
that's why I requested we increased that budget line item. And the town administrator failed at working with the town council.
Not you.
No, not you.
Hopkinton.
To alleviate this. I saw this coming because they hadn't agreed to it when we passed our budget. And so if they say no, now we're going to be $50,000 in the hole that we didn't account for in our budget. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a failure on their government. And it's disappointing that we're in this position.
So I would like to make a motion then, I guess, to authorize our town administrator to invite the entire Hopkinton Town Council for a special meeting to discuss just this item.
Okay.
All right, so thank you. I got my motion. I got multiple seconds.
Is there a time on that? Because, like I said, we're currently operating.
Getting the schedule of 10 council members and 2 town administrators, possibly a town clerk. We may not need our solicitor, so you're off the hook. We may. We'll discuss that later. I think that as soon as possible, with as many people, a quorum at least of each council is necessary, but I don't know, as soon as possible, but understanding that it takes time to get that many people in the same room. I mean, think of how long it took us to get the tri-town, and Hopkinton dragged their feet on that. They so much communication went from me to the President Geary after we made our motion. I made the same motion as Charlestown, made that motion here, emailed him the motion, and it still took months to get that going. So I really don't want to wait as long as we did last time. Considering it's only 2 councils versus 3, it should be easier. But again, up to 17 people in a room can be difficult.
And what if they choose not to respond?
If they choose not to respond, then we will bring it back to our council for further discussion. So maybe we'll discuss it either way at the August 17th meeting if they haven't responded. Because thank you for asking that. Sure, go ahead, Councilor.
Question, it might be more expeditious since Councilor Madnick seems to have strong feelings on this. Perhaps we could dispatch the solicitor, the town administrator, and Councilor Madnick as our ambassador to have an equal party of their administrator, their solicitor, and one person from their council to discuss this.
Well, I understand, but we're also not getting through the communication because currently they have one member of their council discussing it, right? They're just never taking that step like we do of transparency of bringing it back to the full
Alright.
council.
I want to vote. Just because
Okay.
that we had a vote of council, but we never had a mutual agreement.
And are we still waiting for money from them?
Yes, they've been advised that the check will be coming this week.
Oh, good, good. All right,
After the fiscal year ended 3 weeks ago.
all right. So yeah, then I'll support the meeting if you can get that to happen.
And then, but we'll have it as the same item back on for August. Is that part of your motion?
Yeah. Friendly amendment to, hearing no objection, that's friendly amendment to add that part of the motion to have this on the next agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. Any further council discussion? All right, we'll go for our roll call vote. Councilor Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. So no other action on that as of now. So we'll go on to Chief Johnson's report.
This is a perfect segue. I'm gonna flip flop these. Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good evening, Chief.
The rain has an effect on mood. I don't know why, but I get it. So now I'm self-conscious about this microphone that's over the top of my head because Bill Day's out there
I know.
watching and apparently not hearing people here. I will try to project.
I was gonna warn you, it's when you turn towards the people, which I know you love to talk to the
I
people.
do, I like to engage.
Yeah.
Where I am. This is mostly towards the public that's watching. The clothing bin across the street at 190 Kingstown Road. It has not been there very long, but about 3 weeks ago on a Thursday, the rec director, because they have summer camp over there, brought it to our attention that someone had left items outside of the donation container, which is supposed to be clothing and shoes. It's pretty simple, clothing and shoes. If it's not one of those two things, it shouldn't be on the outside of the bin. I know it's a big metal box. Maybe somebody's confusing it for a dumpster. Nothing belongs there except things that you can put into a bag and push into the receptacle. Someone had left cardboard boxes with an address in town on it and some other items like furniture. It was not the property owner. Police had to go out to the property owner. They explained that they went on Craigslist, hired an individual for $100 because they work, they cleaned out their house. They wanted somebody else to take the trash. In fairness, the person that ultimately we located, took a little bit of time, was very apologetic. Young man who made amends by renting a U-Haul truck and going to DPW to collect this trash. The problem is when we do that, if we don't act on it right away, DPW doesn't remove that. Now they think it's a free-for-all, follow suit. If there's a pile there, I guess the town's okay with it. Now you've got a yard full of trash in front of the school. DPW director got right on it. It was one of those hot days 3 weeks ago, like felt like 100 degrees. So they had to collect this. They stored it at the station until we could locate the individual that had deposited those items, and then we picked it up. There's only been one other instance I'm aware of. I had to be driving by and I saw a truck out in front of the bin. I almost called it a dumpster, the collection bin. And he was removing tall wooden furniture items out of the truck and placing it beside the bin. Now they weren't in bad shape. Could probably sell it on eBay, but this particular Charlestown resident thought it was appropriate to leave it outside. And I explained to him, if you just read the print on the outside, I explained that this burdens DPW. It creates kind of a free-for-all effect where people think, well, I'll leave it there for a day, and then if no one else says anything, I'll do my stuff there too. Please don't do that. It's meant to help people that are in hardship and in need. It's not meant for you to not have to go to the transfer station of some sort, some location somewhere and dispose of trash properly or get rid of things that you don't want anymore. And that is all I have on that item.
I'll do a quick little plug for our transfer station. It's now open late, Wednesdays, correct? So if it's an issue of not having the time to get there, we've amended our hours and I hope that people take advantage of it. So thank you so much for the PS.
It's been a problem over the last couple of years. There was a time, without naming the company, the big yellow collection bins, most of us have seen, might have the word planted on it. The one outside of Valley Village, it was a constant problem. Just bags of trash or donations. Outside of that, on the front lawn, you have unoccupied businesses in town. I know everybody talks about urban blight and all those things. It's just not a good look for the town. And frankly, it's a problem too because it can draw rodents if there's trash in there. We just don't want that. Just please follow the rules. It's pretty simple. Derek Adams has been with us for a year and a half now, which is the probationary period for a Richmond police officer. We extended that 6 months a few contracts ago because the problem was that they're 6 months in the academy or 5 months in the academy. We don't get a full year to really assess whether they're a good fit for the town and whether they're worthy of permanent hire. Derek, there was never a doubt about him. From the time that he went to the academy, his performance in the academy, the feedback that we had from his instructors, the respect that he had earned from his classmates, and now in the public. He's been doing the job for a year and a half. He has been a phenomenal hire. Very fortunate to have him. I'm asking that the town council approve him as a permanent hire. This is not additional. I know we froze that 15th spot. I count as one of the 14 that we have. So he's one of 13 patrol officers. So this would make him permanent, and I'd ask that he be to step 2 pursuant with the collective bargaining.
Awesome. Can we motion on that?
Yeah, motion to hire Patrolman Derek Adams as a permanent police officer.
Second.
Any council questions or discussion? All right, we'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Glad
I'm
you're
at
doing
the
so well.
school in September,
Oh, awesome.
at the SRO.
Oh, that's great. He's got big shoes to fill there.
He does.
I'm sure he'll do great.
Fortunate in the people that we've had serve in that capacity, but he's got the right attitude. He really is a positive person and he really.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Get him some back to school supplies. All right, on to our town clerk's report. Take it away, Kendra. Might be more projecting. I barely heard
Yeah,
you.
So as many people know, we are full swing into elections mode. The clerk's office has been preparing for both the primary and the general elections. And one of the things that we have been trying to prepare for is poll workers. So we are actively seeking poll workers for both the primary and the general elections. So we're looking for greeters, we're looking for supervisors, moderators, and clerks. So just to kind of give the public a little bit of an overview of what those positions entail, in case they don't know. Greeters usually for larger elections, so like on election day for the primary or the general, things of that nature. They're usually the first line right at the door, and they can tell you where your polling location is. In case you didn't have an opportunity to visit vote.sos.ri.gov to check your polling location and your voter status. When you do enter the polling area, those other individuals that you were greeted by are supervisors. So they're going to be checking you in. They're going to be checking your IDs, verifying your name and your information. And then they get you your ballot. The clerk, for the most part, will handle all the paperwork. They're going to be accounting for the ballots and just kind of making sure that all the paperwork is good to go. And your moderators are kind of the general supervisors, making sure that everything within the polling location itself is flowing properly, assisting voters with the express vote, and ensuring that ballots are going properly through our DS300s. So if any of that sounds interesting to anyone, please, please, please reach out to the clerk's office. We would really love to have you. There is also required training. And we do have a schedule out for that. So if that is something that the public is interested in, we'll get you signed up for that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I want to put a plug in for what Kendra just said in the 2020 election. Obviously that was during COVID. People that remember, we try to forget it. But the town was in desperate need of poll workers. And as a member of the planning board, I was aware of this and I was asked to volunteer. I ended up volunteering and becoming one of the poll clerks for that election. And I sat next to previous councilor Joe Reddish. We got to know each other. We were there for, I don't know, it's a long day. But the point I want to make is these volunteer positions, and actually they're not, they're paid by the state and it's in our budget. They're critical to how our elections operate. And I felt that the training that we took was so comprehensive in teaching me about how our elections operate in the state of Rhode Island, how they operate in the town of Richmond, and being able to assist residents as a poll clerk, making sure they get to vote. Everyone that comes in gets to vote in some manner, whether it's a affirmative ballot or a I think it starts with provisional ballot. We even had someone who came to the wrong polling place, and then they were in the wrong town. They went to another town, but they left their voter ID. Right, it was their driver's license. So we were required to do the legwork to get that person their ID back before the polls closed. But even if they did, they would still be able to vote. So just these positions are so critical to how our elections operate. And for people that are interested in learning about how the elections work and helping our town for like 1 or 2 days out of the year, please sign up because we need more people to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sure, go ahead.
Kendra, is there an age requirement?
18, 16, sorry.
16.
16.
Yep.
So if you're a 16-year-old out there and you want to get involved with government and earn a little money, see Kendra.
Cool.
And then you get a lunch out of it.
Yes, we do feed you.
Money and pizza.
Moving on to my next item and also keeping on theme with elections. I did receive an email, I say me, but the entirety of the state received an email from the Deputy Secretary of State regarding some funding that is available through the Help America Vote Act, the HAVA funds, to ensure, sorry, I just want to pull up my memo here. It's specifically for security for elections. So One of the, or a couple of the items that they suggested doing or that we could apply for are police details for the primary and the general election. You can put locks on your polling locations if you don't already have them, or some kind of other protective measures to ensure the integrity of the elections. So I did bring it to our canvassers and they were obviously in favor of applying. So I'm bringing it forth to the council today to just, get another additional blessing
Yeah.
on applying for this grant. It is a very tight turnaround. The application itself is due by July 31st. I am working with our grant manager to kind of get an idea on numbers. And I believe she might have already reached out to Chief and Gary regarding the items that we're looking into applying for. One of those items is to have police detail on primary day and on the general day. And we're kind of figuring out what those numbers are going to look like. One, to ensure that, everything stays safe outside, but as well as inside the polling
Yes.
location. The other thing that we were considering was getting locks on the doors within chambers. Currently, we don't have them. Because this is one of our polling locations and all of the primary elections are done within this room. We want to ensure that all of our equipment, all of our documentation, and our poll workers, when they come in for their shifts, are assured that everything within this room is secure. So currently we don't have that. So that's one of the things that we're considering.
So I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
To approve the town clerk to apply for the 2026 election grant program.
Second it. Any council discussion? Sure. I'll just say thank you so much for looking into election security. I had a few constituents reach out via email. So I reached out to Chief and to the elections clerk and was assured that you guys are working on it and told the constituents that. So hopefully we can get you the funding to make it better.
We don't know if there is going to be like a specific dollar amount to it. Is something I did ask. But I guess it does depend on how many cities and towns apply.
Yeah.
So it could be a lot, it could be little. We might be able to get something for one thing, nothing for another. It just kind of depends on what happens. So.
All right. Thank you. We'll go for our roll call vote. Councilor Mendick,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. All right, on to your seat.
So once again, staying on theme with elections. Unfortunately, the September 1st town council meeting falls within our early voting. Unfortunately, the Board of Elections denied us using the foyer as we've done in the past for early voting. And they have instructed us that we need to utilize town council chambers. So I believe I had discussed with Aaron on what the best arrangement for this would be. So I'm just requesting the possibility of rescheduling that meeting. I want to get a consensus on how council wants to proceed with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with rescheduling. I do have a quick question. Did they ever share why they would not allow the foyer to be used?
It's within their, so they have specific regulations that they need to follow from the
Okay.
Secretary of State within, I don't know if you could speak to this more than I can.
They passed new regulations of how early voting polling locations would be set up, and they're gearing towards their locations to be set up the same as election day. And so what previously emergency ballots was a very paper burdensome process. It was done with clerk staff. Early voting came about, and so it's evolved. So it bridges the gaps and hopefully is not turning into more staffing during early voting, because it would be counterproductive for our budgets. But they don't believe now we have the space to accommodate the additional staff, even though our staff is just on one side of a window versus
Right.
the location. So I believe that's where they're coming from.
Okay, perfect. And with having a quorum and 2 council members missing, should we just have a consensus that we agree to reschedule the meeting and handle when and where, or not where, but when we reschedule 2 offline so we can include the 2 members not here?
So if I could just add one thing before you guys, so early voting is now the 20 days. And so because our building hours are open till 6 p.m., we have to have, on Tuesday evenings, we have to have polling open till 6 p.m. So somebody walks in at 6 o'clock and wants to vote, they have the right to vote. So chambers would not be available till the earliest 6:15. Also, September 1st is our proposed day of planting the Liberty Tree at 5 o'clock. We did believe that that would be a tight turnaround. We've also had to reschedule zoning and planning, who also require a video component. So if we're going rescheduling in September, the first meeting might not be a viable option because Chambers theoretically isn't going to be available until our second meeting anyway, by the time, and then we've already filled with planning and zoning rescheduling
Mhm.
for that month. So it may make sense to cancel, just have the tree lighting,
Yeah, every time.
planting, I don't know why, tree planting that evening, because, and just continue the one meeting through that time period. Because we had 2 in July and now we're gonna have 2 in August, because I do propose that the special meeting will be before we start early voting, because Chambers is gonna be, because of this, now Chambers is gonna be
Okay.
severely impeded
Okay,
during that
So
20
just a
day
meeting on the
period,
15th
So-
of September. Just one.
unless you wanted to do it in August before early voting starts, which it starts on August 19th.
we already have the 18th.
So the 18th,
Right.
right? So we're gonna
So that may be
stay,
unnecessary.
so we're gonna have to stay after the meeting on the 18th to be operable on the 19th first thing after the council. So I mean, it's really limiting now resetting up a polling location for meetings, so. Logistics wise, we're gonna make it work for October because we have to, because we only have that one meeting for licensing because of November,
Mhm.
but we're trying to limit it, the setup and reset up during that time period.
I mean, we can't not have council meetings.
Right.
So do we use the school? Is that even logically possible?
My
Use the library?
My concern would be that people in our community are so used to the online component. And while we may be able to Zoom or use that, it would get it tricky for them to like call in like Mr. Day did today. And I don't know. I mean,
It's
if we
not-
did it
it's not
once or
required by state law.
it's not required. It just
What time did you say it goes to?
makes me feel shady.
Yeah,
Why don't we just start at 6:30?
no, we would have to start at like 7 because this whole room would have to be reset up.
They'd
So
have
we
to
could-
break it down.
7's
And
fine.
reset it up after. the meeting.
I mean, I'm okay with 7. I'm a big boy.
7's fine. 7's fine.
We'll make motions to go past 9 if we need to.
Seems like the easiest. We just have.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll have the same night at 7 instead. And we'll also hang around and help if we need to move chairs after the fact.
I will come early
Yeah.
and help clean up.
Okay.
Great.
Do we need a motion on that or is the consensus like that okay? Because I mean, I would still like to confirm with other council members who aren't here.
Yeah. Do we need a motion?
All right.
Well,
Let's go on to the next item then.
All right.
So,
Sorry.
so Kendra's gonna send out an availability email to confirm that everybody on September 1st will start at 7.
Yeah. Okay. And as long as there's a quorum, it's fine. So I mean, I don't know.
Get right here.
Yeah, I know. All right. On to your next one, please.
So my last item is just a request for discussion and consideration of updating the town council rules and procedures. So now that we are no longer open on Fridays, when we have agenda deadlines, it kind of really tightens up the time that I have to prepare the agenda, post it, get it out to everyone, and make sure that everybody has their materials. So I'm just requesting that the agenda deadline for items to be placed on the agenda is moved to the Tuesday instead of the Wednesday, as it is written, to allow for ample time.
Do we have a motion or a question?
Unintended consequences of
Yes.
closing the town hall on Friday. Oh,
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of it because it's a whole week before the agenda, but I know how much work it is.
It's doable.
what if we like split the difference and like did it like 12 o'clock on Wednesday, or it doesn't matter?
That's fine.
That's a little better.
Yeah.
Okay.
We probably need a motion.
We will need a motion to amend the town council rules and procedures. Would you like to do so?
Sure, yeah, I'll make a motion to amend the town council rules and procedures such that agenda items for the following town council meeting are submitted to the clerk by 12 p.m. on Wednesday,
Second.
prior to that.
Second. Any further council discussion? For the public's sake, this is due to the open meeting requirement. we have to post our agenda 48 hours in advance, which does not include weekends or holidays. So with the town clerk's office being closed on Friday, it no longer counts as one of those days. So for a Tuesday at 6 p.m. meeting, we could post the agenda by latest Thursday at 6 p.m. 5:59. I don't know. But also there's a lot of work that goes into preparing the agenda and getting all the materials that we have. So our town clerk's office usually does it the day before that, which is also great for a buffer in case you get sick. So that's the reason why we're doing this. And hopefully our boards and commissions are aware of this new change as well. So that'll be good. All right. We have our motion in our second. We'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Madnick?
Well,
Oh,
just
yeah,
one-
sure.
Let's just see how this goes. If you find that this is not working, then we'll have to reconsider because I know how much effort that this is. We're just trying to split the difference for now and we'll,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right, yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. And that is your last item in your report, right?
Yes.
All right. Now we have a report from Stephen Burke from Vision Appraisal. Are you here? Are you online? There you are. Do you have a PowerPoint coming up behind us?
Yeah, I think,
Sorry,
did you get it, Kendra?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
It was not in the material, so usually I don't have to twist. Oh, wait. No, it's not.
Good evening, members of the council. Thank you for having me. My name is Steve Burke. I'm with Vision Government Solutions. And I was the project manager for the recent revaluation that was just completed. The point of this, we're just going to do a quick overview of how the revaluation process works. So if you go to the next slide, please, Kendra.
Kendra, do you know if people at home can see the presentation?
Yes, they can. That's what I was having trouble with. I apologize.
They usually see the presentation and then we're like in a little box in the corner. Or yeah, we're in the box in the corner. Here, right here. Yeah, I want to be able to twist back, all right.
This revaluation this year was a statistical revaluation. Was not a full revaluation. You know, we inspected properties that were sold in the past year and only open permits. Next slide, please. And there's many benefits of a revaluation. It corrects disproportionate taxation. It adjusts value for market shifts, which we certainly have seen here in Rhode Island. A lot of new construction here in town. So over the past 3 years, we're picking up all the new construction that's happening here. And then we provide access to all information with computerized property files. Everything is online. We have a website that was on the letter that we sent out to all the taxpayers. Next slide, please. The first part of the revaluation is we do a data collection. That's the foundation of the project. That's where we verify the information on the sales, also the new constructions. We look for things such as bedrooms, bathrooms, attics, basements, exterior measurements, basically every feature involved in a house. We did 300 inspections, which were basically the sales for the past couple of years, and also the open building permits. And those were conducted by Ryan Wiston, who's a member of our data collection staff. Next slide, please. And then once we get that data correct and get it verified, the next part of it is to do the sales analysis. And that's, you know, the market is what determines your values. It's not us, it's what the market is. And as you know, anybody that lives down here in the southern Rhode Island, the real estate market is out of reach for many first-time buyers. We never have a preconceived estimate of value. We do an in-depth study of only town sales. We look at land prices. That's what starts the foundation. We determine the land prices based upon vacant land sales as well as other methods such as land residuals. We determine building values and depreciation based on the condition of the properties. And then we develop a computer models based on the market. Next slide, please. And then once that is done, we do a full field review by vision appraisers who are been, you know, several years of experience. They drive by every single property in town, and we look at things such as the style of the house, the condition. We look at the sketch to make sure that it appears accurate. We look at story heights, roof, siding, and extra features. Basically, we put our eyeballs on every single property that's observable from the street to make sure that the information that we have on record appears to be accurate. And next slide, please. And then the next part of that, once we gather that data, then we do an additional market analysis. We analyze market information based on sales. And then we don't have a big commercial tax base here, but we look at income and expense information for those commercial properties in town. We look at land valuation by location. Richmond is a little different than other, Charlestown has a very diverse locations in Charlestown due to, waterfront locations, but we don't really have that here in Richmond. And your value of your property is going to be determined based on what other comparable properties have sold for. And again, we review all the values in the field as part of the evaluation. If you go to the next slide, please. And this is just a synopsis of the number of sales by land use for the year that we did the revaluations. All of these sales would have been from the year 2025. So there were 51 single-family land sales. There were 11 condominium sales. There were two units, 10 mobile homes, and 1 land sale. And then we look at the ASR is the assessment to sale ratio, and that is a generally accepted IAAO standard. So we look at a 95% sales ratio for these sales. And next slide, please. And this is just a breakdown of the number of sales that we had by style. So you can see that mostly ranches and colonials sold here in town. We had 4 capes, 4 conventionals, 7 contemporaries. So you had a wide range of different styles of houses that have sold here in Richmond. And next. And these are the 4 residential neighborhoods within the town. You had 5 sales in neighborhood 0050. Neighborhood 60 had 38 sales. 70 had 5 sales, and 80 had 7 sales, and they're all at this same 95% sales ratio. Next. The last part of the revaluation process is we sent out notices to 3,521 taxpayers. These were for taxable properties in the town of Richmond. Part of the process is we had hearings that were held here at Town Hall or by phone. And then there were 78 hearings that went on through April, and then we sent out 78 notices to those taxpayers April 8th. They also have the right to an appeal further. If they feel that it's not a reasonable estimate of market value, they can appeal through the assessor's office. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. You have any questions for me?
Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you for coming down. First of all, I know a lot of residents.
All the way from Hopkinton.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Sorry, we vented about your town councilor.
Well, that's okay.
I'll give you transfer station.
I know, right?
I know. I pay on time disposal. He gets my $40 a month.
I use RP,
Yeah.
but I also don't use it. Anyway,
Please start.
no, I know that a lot of residents had questions, and Councilor Madnick and Palmashano would ask you to come down and have the presentation. I appreciate you giving us a quick overview about your process so we can learn a little bit about it. Knowing that, that appeal time is now passed, so we're not getting into specific properties or anything like that.
Right.
But do you guys have any questions after the presentation?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Yes, so it's interesting. There's 4 neighborhoods in Richmond.
Right.
You had the numbers 00, something like that. How do you make that determination where the neighborhoods are, and does that ever change?
Yeah, it will change. Sure. It's depending upon sales. So in 3 years, we'll do another revaluation. And if we find one particular area has gone up in value more than others or is worth more, that may slip into a different neighborhood. It's not really geographic proximity. It's a neighborhood that could be similar and homogeneous, right, within the same town, right? Like I live in Hopkinton, the same thing. We don't have a lot of neighborhoods in Hopkinton. It's pretty much the same wherever you are, but you might have a couple of higher end subdivisions, or you might have a land sale in a particular area that says this land value is going to be higher. The neighborhood factor is based upon your land value, right? Because it's all about location, about where you are. So, those neighborhoods don't change dramatically here in Richmond because not a lot does change here. If you had a $2 million subdivision popping up, we might have to create a separate neighborhood for that because there'd be more value allocated to the land than in other particular areas.
Interesting.
I assume that's a formula that's all
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just, you mentioned topography.
Mhm.
How does that, how does
I
that,
didn't mention topography.
yeah, it was listed in the factors, if you go back.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we look at. Yeah, land topography under data collection.
Yeah.
If you had a site that was, that was level to a point and then it was sloped, so half of your parcel was unusable, we could certainly make an adjustment for that.
Oh, so you determined that it's unusable?
Yeah,
Okay,
we would look at, we look at wetlands, we look at any part of your site that's unusable, right? Just because it's wood, it doesn't mean that doesn't add value because it's still a buffer. But we do look at severe topographical issues that would impact value.
Mhm.
Absolutely, sure.
I know you talked about waterfront.
Mhm.
We do have some ponds, like we have beautiful, ponds, and there are some nice homes on that, which are waterfront. Is there an extra, do you charge extra? I mean, do you calculate the waterfront properties that do have waterfront, even though we're?
It's, if they were waterfront sales, to say that there was an adjustment that needed to be applied to that, we certainly would. It's always based upon sales. We don't arbitrarily just assign an adjustment for that.
Okay.
If there's supporting data based on sales, we certainly would.
Okay.
In my town, we have Locustville Pond, right, and we have Wincheck Pond. Those are more desirable, and if you have market data to support an adjustment for that, we certainly would do that.
Okay. And I just so you talked about, I think the valuation, the replacement cost. Is it intended to represent the cost of the original build? Replacement cost? Like, how does that, like, when you do the evaluation on the replacement cost value of the house, how do you calculate that?
It's replacement cost new before depreciation, right? And then we apply depreciation to that to come up with a building value, right? So the newer a building, you're gonna have no depreciation applied to that, right? And we look at, we will look at Marshall and Swift. We have residential cost handbooks that we'll look at, but it's really a sales comparison analysis from the residential standpoint. Because when I do an appraisal, you have multiple sales that are similar to that. So we don't really have to focus on a cost approach. It's really based on a sales comparison analysis.
Okay. Yeah, please, if there are other questions, I don't need to take all the time, guys.
You can go and then, do you have a question? Any
We'll
questions?
let Jim keep
Yeah,
going.
all right, keep going. Unless you're,
I just, obviously I saw that there were, most of the homes I believe were colonial and ranches.
Mhm.
I think it was like 19 and 11.
Yep. Yeah,
And
the
then-
greatest sample of, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I think Capes, which used to be the mainstay of the affordable housing in the past.
Right.
Are those assessed less now than the colonials? Like, how do you, are colonials assessed at a different rate?
Well, there'd be a median selling price of each one of those styles of houses, right? So typically, I don't have that report right here in front of me. I can get that for you.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna, I put you on the spot for that, but I
Yeah.
think of it like, especially ranches, like a ranch and a Cape.
Yep.
They might be very comparable in the square footage. So,
But they're also different animals, right? A Cape is, a ranch is all on one floor, so it's gonna cost you more per square foot for that. And typically, the market for a ranch is gonna be hotter than it's gonna be for a Cape. Because people want one level living today, right?
oh,
They don't wanna climb stairs anymore, so, the 1,200 square foot ranch house in this town is gonna go for $600,000, right? That used to be 199 when I bought my first house. Yeah. Good luck
Thank you.
buying a house today in your 20s, right?
yeah, yeah, you were here for our discussion, so.
I was gonna say, good luck. It's not possible.
You cannot buy a house now.
No, my son just graduated high school. I'm like, oh, you're living with me for as long as possible.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, guys, ask some
Put an
questions.
ADU.
I do not have any
Thank you.
further questions.
Thank you.
Councilor Manick, do you have anything you'd like to ask or,
Yeah, I know we
Sure.
talked about not individual homes, but I'm gonna call you out because I know I got permitted for both of my outbuildings. And if you guys did a drive-by, you would have seen them, but they're not captured on my property card. So
calling yourself out?
I gotta pay my fair share and I'm okay with that.
How big were they? How big were they? Were they just sheds?
Yeah, they're sheds.
How big were they?
One was a 8x12 and the other one was 10x16.
Okay.
Both got permits pulled.
So I will say that maybe you should appeal to ask to pay more.
If you can add them to your
Go from
property
there. You should
repertoire
get
if
to
you'd
the
like.
proper process. It's just,
It's found me. It's good there.
yeah.
Saw it on the slide, said, well, I can't validate the veracity of what was said because my own home wasn't captured appropriately.
Right.
Were they readily observable from street?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
At least one of them was. Okay, so
Sure.
I don't want to talk about my individual home, but just something I noticed.
Yeah.
So really interesting, looking at some of the data and for instance, like there's like some neighborhoods that seem to go up in value considerably. And what I noticed when I went through and I just picked some houses based on where the neighborhood changes were and some of the data that our town provided us during the budget. And like neighborhood like 70, and I don't really know what that means, but 70, and then colonials, for instance, skyrocketed in value compared to other homes in the town. So when you look at where the tax burden falls, there are certain types of homes in certain neighborhoods that are now taking a much higher burden of the tax revenue into the town than other neighborhoods.
It's always a shift, right? Anytime I appraise your house, one question I never ask is, what was this worth 3 years ago? It's no consequence to us as appraisers, right? It's a snapshot as of 12/31/25. What is the market for that house? Right? So it might have been 3 years ago, the demand for that style of house was not as great as it is today, right? So we'll see where it is in 3 years. It's not, yeah, everything does go up and down, but in my 40 years of doing this, I never go to your house and say, hey, what was your house worth 5 years ago? It has no bearing on where we are today. But it is correct that some go up more than others. If everybody had a 24/40 ranch house on 1 acre with no differences, you'd all be up 15%. That's not reality, right? It's all based on buyer preference and what the market tells us as of a specific date.
Well, I find what's interesting when we do a statistical reevaluation, the actual number of home sales over 3 years is, in my opinion, it's fairly minimal. It's a small sample size.
It is. You are
So,
correct.
in just in your experience, do you think the small sample size from our sales had an effect on where the valuations across the entire community are? Because, for instance, in a couple of these neighborhoods, there's only 5 sales. So those 5 sales
Mhm.
seem to have an outsized impact on the rest of the community that fits into that neighborhood. For instance, neighborhood 50 only had 5 sales.
Right.
Right. So like those 5 sales seem to skew where the valuations of those neighborhoods be. Is that typical or is
In a
that
case
kind of
like that,
bizarre?
we'll go back another year to see, let me see how many more sales we have from that.
Mhm.
You know, maybe going back another to year 24 for sales to see, but you are correct. You can have 3 or 4 sales, like Foster's small town USA. You might have 3 sales, 4 sales in a month there. Those 4 sales can determine a lot for everybody else. It's just a function of what the market is.
And do you
The sheer number of sales, the volume of sales has dropped dramatically.
yes.
Here we have no supply. I mean, we have no inventory, right? And I see it, you know, the number in Massachusetts, we have to do 2 years, we have to do 1 year of sales. If you don't have 2% of the population, you got to go back 2 years. We're using 2 years of sales in Massachusetts because there's not enough sales activity, because nobody's buying, right? It's hard. I mean, mortgage rates are 6.5 plus. Try to get in to buy first time. You know, first time buyers are priced out of the market. So yeah, a small sample size can skew it. You are correct. But we also have the ability to look, you know, we set out notices in April. So I can look at 26 sales, even though we're not using them in our analysis, just to say, let me look in the future and see what's happening. You know, so we'll have other sales. But you are correct.
Just to clarify, so with the small sample size, do you make adjustments based on the, like we were talking, topography and location and the different aspects of each house, so whether it has outbuildings or an attached garage, detached garage, how many kitchens, things of that nature? Like, is there an adjustment factor? You say like this house over here had these features, it sold for this value. Let's say it's a colonial, but this colonial is slightly different over here. Same neighborhood number, but like different area of the town. Is there an adjustment between the two?
There is, yeah, sure. And then we correlate the sales. The first thing we do is make sure your sales data is correct, because you're building the model off of those sales,
Mhm.
right? If that data is not correct, then you've got a problem. So not only do we do an interior inspection or attempt to, I've got access to MLS as a licensed appraiser. So I can pull up MLS for every single sale, make sure that that data is 100% correct. Because if I'm assessing them for a finished basement, I got to make sure that they have a finished basement. And that adjustment is going to apply to everybody else that has a similar situation. Yeah.
Okay, so just anecdotally, what I found fascinating from this reevaluation compared to the last few that I've been here for is generally what I saw is over the entire town, generally the values of everyone's homes went up roughly the same rate, you know, plus or minus a little bit. This one surprised me because in some of these neighborhoods, in some homes, the rates went up way higher than what I found was anecdotally normal the last reevaluation.
There's nothing normal about this market though, right?
That's.
There's nothing normal, right? You know what? It'd be nice if everybody went up 5% a year. This would be a simple
Yeah.
exercise, but there are wide swings, right? In Rhode Island, it's every 3 years. It's like 40% increase. What? You know, are you kidding me? But that's just the market that we're in, you know? If we had, 500 sales here in the town of Richmond, that would be beautiful, but we don't, this is not Providence, right? So, and I work closely with Jay, with the assessor, to make sure that these sales are qualified sales. They're not, if somebody's chasing a sale, right? Because, the grandkids live next door and somebody wants it, they have cash. That's not a legitimate sale, right? We'll look at that. It's a transfer, but it really not market value because they were hyper motivated to buy that house. Right? So we look like what is normal. Again, there's no new normal. There's no normal in this market right here.
All right, so in your expertise, and looking ahead, when we do this again in 3 years, I know it's very hard because we don't know what the market's gonna be. And 3 years ago, it's very different, but based on the trends you've seen since you did the reevaluation in Richmond last year, are we headed the same way, at least in the last 6-7 months, or are things improving? I mean, in your expertise,
From what I see, things are starting to level out slightly, becoming less erratic, let's say. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen. This whole world, the economy is where it is today. I have no idea. For me to venture a guess, I've been an appraiser for 40 years, and I bought my house in 2004 at the peak of the market, and then the market crashed. Right. I was like, oh, well, it's my house. I'm going to still live here. Now I can't afford my house if I had to buy it. Right. In Hope Valley. So,
likewise.
Yeah. Yeah. So be thankful you own your house. Right.
Yes.
Not yet, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation. It was a tough year for a lot of, I've had conversations with a lot of constituents. The reason why we wanted you to come was because there's a lot of people understanding it's not specific questions about like my house and this, but general questions. A lot of people who are probably online have questions just to understand the process.
Sure.
I think you said that like in my neighborhood, if we have one house that sells and it's the largest house in the neighborhood, that drives the assessments up for everyone. And then Dan's neighborhood, he has one house that sells, it's a smaller house. He may not experience as much. It's a painful thing when you might be one of the smaller houses in the neighborhood, but you're paying the price, pardon the pun, for that giant house that sold. There's a lot of, inconsistencies in the way it's perceived.
You're at the mercy of the market anytime your house is appraised, right? I mean, everybody knows it's in the news all the time. The real estate market, maybe in Florida, is becoming oversaturated, but not here. We have a supply issue, right? I don't know when it's never gonna be satisfied, right? Providence, they're trying to limit that. They don't want any growth in Providence. They can't afford, houses there. So I don't know what the future's gonna bring. We don't know.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I know there's are you gonna allow the public to ask questions?
I always do on every agenda item.
There you go. Public questions. Thank you.
I see none. Do we have anybody online? Oh, sure. Go ahead, Mr. Parker. If you don't mind taking a seat so he can grab the podium to be heard a little better. And usually people online, they raise their hand. You let me know, right, Kendra? Perfect.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick question for the gentleman. What is the ASR and how is that?
It's assessment to sale ratio. Right? It's a statistical term that's used in revaluation, and it's by the International Association of Assessing Officers. It's the percentage. If you got a sale, let's say a sale sold for $100,000, the value that we would put on it for assessment purposes to meet that ratio would be $95,000. Right? So every property should be assessed. The sales are assessed at 95% of market value.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So if your house is assessed at $400,000, your actual market value, if it took 400 divided by 0.95, that's what your real market value would be. So it's not quite 100%.
Understand the math.
Yeah.
Regarding the actual valuations themselves for, I think Councilor Madnick was kind of going on the right idea. I sort of saw the same way you did, sir, where you could see one home which could possibly maybe skew the value of the other homes that have been sold. Is that corrected for? Do you have, like you mentioned, I think you mentioned about some sort of algorithm of some type of calculation. How do you do that? Because one of the things that's I think is important from an economic development perspective, I have to be the chairman of the EDC, is being taxed on things that are not sold. You know, the idea that if we have such a limited number of homes that are being sold, yet being taxed at the value of it or to being sold at that point. Just kind of wondering what kind of algorithms you might employ and if they could be made available to the public, as well as Councilor Palmigano asked about the neighborhoods, you know, what these neighborhoods that I don't think any of us had any situational awareness to, if those could be made public as to how we as taxpayers and residents are in fact being taxed.
Sure. All the information, we provided a manual to, Jay has the manual that we provided to the assessor's office.
Okay.
It's a revaluation manual that you can access that has all the basic methodology in there, so you're free to peruse that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Madam President.
You're welcome.
Jay, is that on our website? Is that available online?
No, it's not.
Awesome.
Could it be? How is it? Is it a gigantic manual or is it something that could be digitized and put on our website?
Is it copyright?
Yeah, yeah, it's a couple hundred pages.
Yeah, it's quite large, and most of it's just the tables that come out of the database.
Yeah, so how do people get it? Are they supposed to come and sit with you to read through it, or do you give them a copy, or
Or do they have to do an access to public records?
No, we could do that.
probably digitizing it, putting it online would be best?
Then I'll make a motion to request the tax assessor to provide digitize the manual provided by Vision Appraisal and put it on our website.
Second, any council discussion?
By next week? No.
It is like, all right,
Thank you, Jay.
we'll go for our vote. Counselor Madnick.
Scanner will scan.
For our vote, Counselor Madnick?
She Kendra had her hand up.
Oh, you did, I missed it.
There's a lot on
Oh, we'll go through our vote and then we'll get to the person online. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And myself, yes. Kendra, would you give the person online permissions? When you do get permissions, please state your name for the record. Yeah, they get video too, or is that just like a sometimes thing?
No, I like.
Okay. I don't think we saw Mr. Day. We just heard him.
Laura, you should have permissions.
Okay, thank you. Hi, this is Laura Rieger from Carolina, Rhode Island, and I've been following the tax assessment stuff for a number of years now, only because that whole neighborhood situation attracted my attention years ago when I thought a neighborhood would be Carolina or Wyoming or what have you, only to find that a street in my actual physical neighborhood is placed into a neighborhood with other streets that are way out in West Kingston. And I had questioned at the time, well, what are the factors that make you go into a certain neighborhood? Is it whether you have better pavement, whether you have underground wiring? How does a street get assessed or put into a certain neighborhood when it's not even in the same area of town? It's never made sense to me. And frankly, this year, and I'm not a part of Neighborhood 70, and I'm thankful of that, because I was appalled to see how their land values skyrocketed around me, and trying to figure out what happened there. I mean, I've got people up the street whose land values more than doubled, and the next street over, and they're back to back. It doesn't, and it makes no sense, because this whole fair market value thing that we keep using for assessment doesn't really seem to apply when you have two car garages that are freestanding, and they're assessed for less than a shed or something that is or something else that's attached to the house. I mean, the fair market value, they're going to get more money because they've got that nice big garage than somebody else who has something that is much smaller. But I mean, this whole neighborhood, how you're put into a certain neighborhood has never really been explained to me. And I've been questioning that for many, many years. So I'd like to really understand how that really happens. That's my first question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Can I
And
turn that over to you?
I probably took up my 3 minutes right there.
We only do that for public forum. That's what the rules say. But anyway, would you be able to answer that question? Could I turn that over to you to see how we get into each neighborhood?
Yeah, every neighborhood, the land value is what you're referring to, is determined a couple of different ways. If you had land sales in every particular neighborhood, just vacant land sales, it would be a simple calculation or simple exercise. But in most cases, we don't. So what we use is we use land residual technique. In other words, you'll have a property that's sold that's got a house on it, sold for X amount of dollars, right? Let's say, for example, the house and the land sells for 500,000. We know that the building contributes 350, simple exercise. Whatever's left has got to be attributable to the land. In this case, it would be $150,000. So in some cases, you're going to say, well, that's land value seems low for that area, seems high for that area. But there might be a greater allocation of land in a particular area because the houses are much smaller, right? So you might have a small ranch house. Well, there's got to be a lot more of that value, overall value has got to be attributable to the land, not to the building. So that's.
So you bucketize those in the neighborhoods? Is that
Yeah.
how you're doing?
Yeah. We have that discussion all the time. Let's say, in Lincoln, for example, you're in a neighborhood that's got, 5,000 to 6,000 square foot houses, right? Each house is probably $700,000-800,000. It sells for $850,000. Well, what's left is got to be $150,000 as your land. You got another neighborhood that has little small ranches that are only worth maybe $450,000 that sell for $650,000. Their land's worth $200,000. Doesn't make sense intuitively, but when you use the residual method that we're obligated and we can use for assessing purposes, that makes sense, right? So. And it's all based upon the sales in a particular neighborhood, right?
I think that might answer part of the question, but I think the other part was, how are the specific neighborhoods determined? How do you put a property in, well, at least one of the four that Richmond has specifically, 50, 60, 70, and 80?
Well, it's determined not only by geographic proximity, but it's more determined by the similar makeup, right? You could be 8 miles away in the town of Richmond, be in a similar makeup, right? So you can be in the same neighborhood 8 miles away, because if the property is available for sale, a buyer comes in and says, there's nothing available here, but there's something at the other end of town. It's fairly homogeneous. So you'd apply the same neighborhood factor. It's not necessarily geographically right next door.
Interesting. How do you know what neighborhood you're a part of?
It would be on your property record card. You could go on the Vision website. It would be right there. Yeah, all the information is right there. Or if you don't know, you could just.
Oh, I see it. Okay, sorry. I did pull up my property. I was like, where is it? There it is. Neighborhoods. Interesting. All right. Any other questions?
Does that answer?
I thought it did. Laura, did that answer your question? Does she sell permissions?
It partially answers my question, but I mean, I've got so many questions that I know that I can't ask them all. But I didn't catch the time frame that you used for your sales search, but I did my own sales search because, like I said, I've been kind of looking at this stuff for years now, trying to figure it out, not knowing if there's really something that I should be curious about or not. But I did a sales search using January 1st, 25 through December 31st, 25, which I thought was a fair amount of time, since it's a revaluation over 3 years, to use 1 year's worth of time. And I came up with far different numbers for the sales of capes, ranches, and colonials. But I also wonder if in the mix at all, do you look at the total number of capes compared to the total number of ranches, compared to the total number of colonials, to come up with an actual percentage of that style of house available in the town? I don't think people are even searching for a separate, a specific type of house now. I think they're just looking for a house that meets their needs and they can afford. So I don't think the style of house has anything to do any longer with the desirability of the house that sells. I'm not even sure that the location in town is really as important.
that's a function of the market that we're in where there's no supply available, right? So 2008, when the market had collapsed, every other property was available for sale. The buyers had all the options. The buyers don't have any options now,
Right.
so that you used to have to make sure your house's septic was fine, make sure your kitchen was renovated. Today, that does not matter because there's no supply houses available, so. Yeah, I agree. It's not a normal market that we're in, and it's been like this since 2000.
Interesting. Laura, did you want to throw out one of your other questions? I know you said you had a lot.
That just makes me ask again, so how is it that capes became less valuable when all of the houses apparently have equal value?
Because we stratify it by style of house. We had 4 Cape style houses that sold in 2025.
I had,
Statistics, the sales tell us everything, right? So we're not going to apply the same value to every single house. It's based on the style of house, not so much on where it is, right? But the style does matter, right?
well, my sales search came up with far more than 4 capes selling in town in 2025.
I think we're more learning the process today, not getting into the specifics of the actual reval, but learning the process.
Those sales may not have been valid sales, because we don't, if a family if a family transfer takes place, that's not a valid sale, right? We look at sales that were mostly, MLS sales that we can verify the terms of the sale and the data. So whether there were more than 4, maybe they were unqualified sales that you had included in your search. I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I'll have those sales in front of us. We don't have your sales in front of us to compare what we're comparing. Other questions? Or do you want them? I didn't know Floor's up there to throw another one out.
I was gonna say, Laura, if there are other questions, it sounds like, you have a lot of the answers that people are looking for. If they're going through Jay and coming back to you, if there were additional questions that people have, is it appropriate to say email Jay or email you to get answers to some of these questions?
Email
Jay
Jay
is
and I.
pointing at himself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He has 20 other projects, so.
sure. So you can
If
be
there's
the
something I
conduit.
can't answer, I'll ask.
Yeah,
See
we'll
if
work
Chances
together.
are all.
Okay.
he calls, I answer the phone.
Okay.
He does actually,
And your email is assessor@richmondri.gov?
yes.
All right, easy enough. Assessor@richmondri.gov. Sorry, it's already public. It's
So
more
yeah,
public now.
if Laura, you have more questions, so we can certainly make sure they get answered.
No, it's not really a question this time. I've talked with Jay quite a bit. He's been very helpful. He's answered a lot of the questions that I have had. So I just want to make that clear as well, so.
Thank you.
It seems to me that a lot of what has led us to where we are today, and I appreciate you being here, Nancy, because I've learned so much about this process just in the half an hour we've talked, is because of the abnormalness of the market is why we're seeing what we're seeing in this reevaluation cycle. And so I really appreciate you coming here and like explaining it and having this really in-depth discussion about how this works. I don't know if you do this with other communities, but we've had so many people ask us about it that we felt it was necessary to do the investigation and have someone come to explain it, because we're not a subject matter expert.
What I found shocking was there were 78 hearings. That is it, right? That's a very low number. Last time, 3 years ago, we had maybe 150.
Oh, wow.
So when we set up the hearings, I said to Jay, because I did Hopkinton as well, my own town, and it was crickets, because people know this market now. Most of them, there's some that are still, a little anxious about it, but most people know that when a house sells, I would never pay that. This market's out of control. Glad you own your own house today, right? This is the bottom line. But I was shocked that there were only 78 people that came in for hearing. That tells you something, right? That the vast majority of people, which is only like 2% of the population, right?
And do you know, can you tell us like how many of those 78 actually got their assessments modified?
I don't have that number right now in front of me, but
About a third.
About a third did.
In fact, actually, part of that number were people that came to see me and I either changed the value or didn't and sent out a letter. So they didn't even see that many people. High 60s that the company saw, and people that came to see me also got the same batch of letters. So
Oh, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, usually it's 5%. We'll
Yeah.
get, when we send out notices, 5% will come in for hearings. In this case, it's been less than 3%. And, all of, Charlestown, Richmond, Hopkinton, I did all the towns. And it was,
All the good ones, at least.
yeah, it's all the ones, the expensive ones.
I don't mean to be flippant on this, but it's like with the unemployment numbers, seeing the numbers go down doesn't necessarily mean they went down. It means some people gave up looking, right?
Well, of course.
In the past,
Yeah.
I did call on the last valuation because I live in one of those fun neighborhoods. And the process, I don't know who I spoke with at the time, but it was pretty much, well, that's the way it is. This is what you got. I'm not gonna call again, right? Maybe I will now that Jay's in the seat. I'll go see Jay next time. But I don't think we can attribute satisfaction to it entirely. I think there's some resignation to the process. So,
Awesome. Sure, Mr. Delory, if you don't mind having a seat again so he can step up to the podium. I know it gets weird, then you want to answer his question, because I'm not gonna ever answer his question.
It's Delory and Richmond. There was just a lot of talk about the market being weird and having no supply. It just struck me as possibly a reason that the land residual method might give some weird results, because it might not just be land plus house. There might be land plus house plus speculation. If there's no supply, it's not a functional market. So just
About how good the salesman was.
right, perhaps. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
if you're selling, I'm buying it. That's it.
All right.
Balance it. Thank you. Good point.
All right. We got any other questions or any statements or anything?
No, just thank
All
you
right.
for coming again.
Yes.
It's super helpful.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you again for coming and taking the time. I know you got a long drive home, so.
Yeah. Wait, Val.
Yeah, me too.
So, have a good night, folks.
Thank you.
Have a good night, folks.
Yeah. Sorry, wrong pipe. Last new business is a request from Mr. Lombardi regarding an acquisition of Town of Richmond tax interest AP 3B Lot 4F located on Wood River Drive. Are you Mr. Lombardi?
Yes,
All right. Do you want to give us a little intro of what you're requesting here? I know I will have questions. I'm sure my colleagues will as well.
I wanted to purchase a tax deed, tax certificate
Mhm.
on that particular lot. And when I inquired on it, they said, my attorney spoke to one of the town attorneys. He told him to put it in writing for tonight. Because the
Okay.
council wanted to know what I propose to do with it. And what I intend to do if I do purchase the lot is construct a single family home on it.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
I've constructed a few others in that same, right in that area. In fact, one right across the street a number of years ago.
Okay. I have a question, I think, for our town solicitor.
Go ahead.
When we own a property at a tax sale, wouldn't it go to an auction?
No, you own the tax title, subject to the previous owner's right of redemption. So if you haven't foreclosed the right of redemption, the town owns it. The issue, I think, becomes, can the town council alienate the property, sell the property, right? Transfer the property. The town charter doesn't speak to the town council having the power to sell town land. So the issue, I think, becomes, do you need a referendum vote by the electors of the town to actually sell the property? Because under your home rule charter, it doesn't say that you can sell land.
Well, I'm gonna dial it back
Go
a
ahead.
minute. We don't own the property. We own a tax interest in the property.
Yeah, that's the.
So,
that's its own-
so we don't own it. Whoever does own it needs to do the right of the redemption deed, correct?
That
no.
person that person doesn't own it.
Right, no, I'm sorry. We would have to do the redemption deed in order to become the owners. So if we transfer our tax ownership to him, he does not own the property either. He would have to do the
He-
redemption.
He owns it subject to that person's right of redemption.
Oh, okay. So he would need to go through the process of foreclosure, right of redemption.
Have to
Right.
foreclose it.
So I think I'm wondering is when would the actual auction then take place for people to buy these properties at a tax sale?
The answer, that's different. There was a tax sale. Nobody bid on it, is my understanding.
Oh, okay. So we already did the
There-
auction.
That's already been done.
2011. Okay. Nobody bid on it. That makes me feel better because I was thinking we were skipping that step in the process. So now we're gonna not sell the property, but transfer our tax deed over to him and he has to do the foreclosure right of redemption before he can own it and build and whatever he needs to do.
I think the issue.
That's the policies. We want to relinquish
Okay.
that because we acquire properties at tax sale when nobody else bids on them. And then some go back up for tax sale, if obviously if it has a house, because then somebody will buy it. This is $3,700 in taxes. Because it's a vacant lot, in a small piece where it is. And so part of the policy decision is, do you want to relinquish that to build in that area? Based on, there was previous, and there comes to the point of, does the council have the authority to do that? Is one, pursuant to the charter, which is part of this decision, but two, should you have the authority, do you want to do it given the location?
Mm-hmm.
The first question is more important, right? Do we legally have the right to do this?
The research I did based on Mr. Lombardi's request was that under the home rule charter, you don't have the authority under the charter to alienate land, to sell town land. You just don't have it. So if that's the case, you'd have to go to the electorate, the electors of the town, the voters, referendum.
Yeah.
Where is that written that we need to go to the voters?
Well, because in the home rule charter, you don't have the power to do that. The only other body that could do it would be the electors of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have, all the power is in with the electors. They give you express powers in the home rule charter. If it's not in there expressly, you don't have it, they retain it.
We can purchase land, we just can't sell land.
Yeah, well, no. You can lease it, you can mortgage it. It's express in there, the things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But selling it is not one of them.
But we're not selling the property. We're selling our tax interest.
I think that's roughly the same.
You think so?
Yeah,
Because we can always redeem. All right. Close enough.
So what does this mean for him?
Yeah, so if we don't have the authority to do it, I would prefer to see the legal memorandum that
That's fine.
says you find your research before we make any kind of decision, just because that wasn't included in our packet. And go from there.
So what I will do is, based on your request, Madam President, I'll draft you a legal memorandum as to what your choices are, what your authority is regarding this tax title that you retain.
Yeah.
And then you can make your decision from there.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I'm gonna put my 2 cents in.
Yeah.
I'm a no, depending on what the legal, this isn't a floodplain
Mm-hmm.
on Wood River Drive, in areas that we already have flooding, in areas that we just had spent money to determine how to prevent homes from flooding. And I don't doubt Mr. Lombardi's ability to build a nice house and sell it.
Yeah.
But we've been discussing actually purchasing homes to prevent them from flooding. And we may consider in the future to relinquish a piece of property we have ownership of that is in a floodplain. I kind of have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
So I respect your request, but we're trying, and we just set up a whole commission to prevent hazardous issues from people and property, and this on its face just doesn't seem like a good idea, period.
Right. That's a very good point. So I may not want to waste the legal time and dollars per hour to come up with an answer when I agree with you.
But I just wanted to make a point.
Yeah.
Even election coming up, I may only be here till November. Another council may make a different decision.
Right.
I believe it says you have a house across the street,
I built one across the street.
so you don't live there.
No, I don't live, I live in Coventry.
All right, do you know if the house across the street has had issues with flooding?
Never, that to my knowledge. No, I don't know the people that own it now. They've owned it for the last, I think, 2 years. Prior to that, I knew the people, because I sold it to them. I would have conversations with them occasionally. Never had a problem.
Respectfully, this is a question, but if people have trouble with flooding, I don't think do they typically reach out to the builder?
No,
I'm just saying, like, if I had an issue with flooding, I would not reach out to
the
my
people I
builder.
sold it to, I knew the people.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I knew through my family.
Small
So
state.
I would speak to them.
Okay,
Often.
that makes
I would
sense.
know, and if there was a problem, I would have known.
Gotcha.
And, what I was doing, I simply wanted to purchase the tax deed. I didn't want to, wasn't a clear title coming from the town. of Richmond.
Right.
I just simply wanted the title assigned to me for the taxes that are due on the property.
Yeah. I mean, if you did it in 2011, you'd have a lot of interest on it.
Yeah, yeah, we got the figures.
So we didn't put a motion in for your legal research, so that's not an action. But I'm kind of inclined to agree with Counselor Madnick, where I don't know if I want to spend the time on the legal research when it's in a flooded area that's known for that.
Are you worried about in the future, the area flooding, if there was a house built there, is that what it is?
Worried about it flooding now, not
Yeah.
even in the future. Worried about it flooding last week.
Because
Well, maybe
can't-
not in the middle of a drought.
If I don't do the application process with the Department of Environmental Management
Yeah.
properly, I'm not gonna get a building permit from the town either. So I would have to adhere to their rules.
I don't think they're necessarily going to tell you not to build in a floodplain, but it's in our flood hazard overlay district. I think you'd be able to build, and then the person who buys the house will likely have to get flood insurance coverage, but just. And I got no issue with private property rights and be able to develop, but the town has a holding, or, and I don't know the legal and the real estate stuff, but. Just look at it from a very practical standpoint. We've been discussing this for a number of years now. That's in our flood hazard overlay district. This area floods badly. And in fact, I actually think this little strip of road was closed a couple years ago when I went down there. So I really
Yeah,
don't want
'cause
to
it's-
spend the attorney time to go through this.
Yeah. All right, can you put that into a form of a motion, I guess?
Sure. I'll put that.
It would be a motion, I guess, to decline the request?
Yeah, is that
Are we supposed to make negative motions?
Yeah, but
Think that's against the records.
we just
could include why you're planning it, I would appreciate that in the motion.
Yeah, wait, include why?
Why it's being declined, yeah, in the motion, please.
I mean, we don't necessarily have to take action on it either.
We could just let it lie.
But then that's not really transparent.
I did have a member of the public who wanted to ask something. Do you mind having a seat? And then Chris, can you take the podium? Do state your name for the record though, please.
Chris Cono, Richmond. As you've been talking about whether or not to do the legal research on this, while this may be a specific case, this will not be the like at some point there's gonna be another developer who's gonna be up here for another plot of land somewhere in Richmond and you're gonna come across this again. And so I think there's maybe an opportunity to do the research anyway, in the sense that you wouldn't want to have to send another developer back to go do a referendum to go address this. So I might still consider taking the opportunity to figure out if this requires additional legal work or to figure out the path might be, just as a precaution, while you have a separate debate about whether or not Woodward flows or not.
Yeah, we could always put that to a future council for them to cross that bridge when they get there as well.
Yeah, I agree, irrespective of what we decide, I'd like to see the research to know if we have the ability to do it. I would,
Good point.
you know, I'd like to see that first, so. I don't know if you need a motion or to direct the.
We do need motions to
Yeah.
direct staff.
Well, Madam President, I don't think you need you can just direct me to do it. You don't need a motion to have me. look into
All
it
right,
further.
Lisa,
That's fine.
could you look into that and come back with a report?
I can.
The next meeting, that way we'd be able to get back to Mr. Lombardi to let him know if we actually do have the authority to do so, and if not, it could be determined what the next steps are.
Yes.
Yeah, fair, right? I'm looking at Mr. Lombardi.
Oh, so will it, next meeting?
You want to come up here? I'm sorry, sir. You've been here the whole meeting. I appreciate you hanging out.
Yeah,
No problem.
I was just gonna let me
Yes,
have back
the-
some
I'm glad to have the
So
hearing.
listen, you gotta look into this, let us know if we have the authority to do so. If he says you guys can't do this, then we could discuss whether that, for either your case or other cases, it goes to referendum to the public to determine whether they want to grant us the power to do so.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate hearing the,
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for being here the whole night.
All right, so that is it on that.
As a motion to go past 9 o'clock.
Second, go for a roll call vote. Counselor Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes.
1 minute.
I'll make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to general law 42-46(5)(a)(2), pending litigation with Jordan Carlton, Town of Richmond.
Second.
We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
And Wilcox, yes. Still red. All right, now it's green. So we're good? All right, can we please have a motion to exit executive session?
Motion to exit executive session.
Second it. We'll go for a vote. Councilor Madden,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. The motion to seal the minutes of our executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we'll go for a vote. Councilor Madden,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
and Wilcox, yes. There were no votes taken this evening in executive session. I get it all? All right, we'll go for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Councilor Madden,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yeah.